Mm. Hello, struggler. Witness the strength provided by the power of inhaling bromine from pineapple like it's fucking cum. Temporarily, the coughing's not going to happen for a bit. I chose to use with my money that I have earned from my job to order some things necessary for food and breakfast today, which included 2 hefty, tall orders of drinks that came with mango, pineapple, and I added some ginger. I saw a TikTok explain that there are certain kind of herbs and spices that can be used to open up the throat and also try to manage coughing and saliva production. One of those being bromine to bite through tough and difficult saliva and nodules. And it appears to be working because I'm not hacking right now, but we'll see how it works throughout the day because I fucking slammed both of them. Like, I've been a bit burpy to regurgitate it, but it came from, I forget what this business is called. Look at the cup, Carl. It says it on the fucking cup. From the Tropical Cafe Smoothie Store. The thing that they call Sunrise Sunset with ginger. So far, 2 drinks of this was like $15 to order. But I can actually fucking breathe. My chest doesn't feel heavy. Got a fucking crick in my shoulder and my neck, but be that as it may. And where I disappeared off camera last night so that I could talk to Star about stuff like this, and came back kind of lethargic because I was also fucking sleepy. I'm live before 5 to 4 p.m. One may only hope that this will help with my energy, because the aches and pains of the coughing have definitely been keeping me from my broadcasting, which has also been keeping me properly from some of my editing, because I want certain videos of mine to go out. And also, if I'm going to start doing reviews and reactions live on the timeline on X, I need a certain level of quality and quantity of the ability to actually breathe and do my job in order to do that. Can't do massive show reviews, blasting them out back to back to back to back, unless I do that in that way. So, that's one of the things I've been trying to work on. Talked to Jay about it, developed it, figured out how to do it so I can do it myself. That's going to happen within a week. Whether I have to be coked up on fucking syrup or not. So, hello. Now let's get into some work, shall we? That didn't hurt as nearly as bad. However, that saliva is thick. chest. Got up and went running. Good job, Fancy Pants. I see a butt that needs to be spanked. I'm gonna spank that butt. The butt has been spanked. What kind of upgrades we're looking at, Fancy Pants? I can see there's a new surrounded debate featuring 1 Democrat and 20 Trump supporters, but I believe by process of elimination, because it's Jubilee, I'll have to do this at another date. But I'm going to put this in the back line. This one is 1 Democrat versus 20 Trump supporters featuring Isaiah Martin, whom I have never heard of, but however, from Jack, there is a new video from the Birdman featuring White Knights for his Black Queen Lupin Hongo, but I have several things to catch up with when it comes to the Birdman and his retarded ass opinions.
Christopher Nolan's latest.
Before we even get there, let's go back in time. We gotta go back in time. We need to go back in time. I'm getting hit up by somebody. Ask them to do more content. All right. Where is it? Exposing the Grift, Ironheart. There was supposed to be a video that came after Ironheart. Here we go. So, exposing the Grift, Neurotic lies to you about Ironheart. And then exposing the Grift, Ironheart. Here we go. Prepare yourself. This is going to be some fucking retarded, annoying cringe. Cringe. There's hot and annoying cringe. Hello, Radio Chimp. I spoke to you earlier this morning. Hello. You're from Cassie's server. Asus motherboard, Intel 13 core. Ah, Team Blue, I see. Went through all the steps installing the CPU, DDR5 DIMMs. Fuck the AI data centers. How dare you guys ramp my fucking RAM all the way through the roof? I mean, if it's at least 8 gigs of RAM, that's okay. You know? 16 would be good. Double sticks of 8 for 16 is good. Double six of 16 for 32 can be good. It is what it is, you know? It is what it is. I will eventually feel completely better, Struggler. The problem is that I need to find a way to make my cough stop creating a chain reaction. Fortunately, Lindo actually had advice that was helpful, which was that I need to probably get some liquid core cough drops to help deliver the medicine directly to my vocal cords and to my cough muscle. However, be prepared. We are about to see pedantism that happened in time periods. This were 2 videos that needed to happen together collectively when I was doing Ironheart, but I never ended up putting out my Ironheart rebuttal. But I'm probably going to need to sit down and put out my Ironheart rebuttal, because I should have put out an Ironheart rebuttal based on the dumb shit that came out of the mouth of Birdman. Get this shit on screen. So, 8 months ago, Jay and I covered this one on camera. And I also covered this on my own stream again, so I could better perfect the things that I said on her broadcast. But let's just do the 1-2 punch of going through both of them at the same time.
Stop. Stop. Cut it out. Knock it off. What, do you want me to say it in Japanese? Yamero. Stop what, you ask? Stop allowing these motherfuckers to claim they are not racist. Nerderotic, aka Gary Beekler, is a racist. Jeremy Griggs is a racist. Will Jordan is a racist.
Out of the door, he does this shit, which leads us back to the Will Jordan insults. Right? Just inherently on the nature of their business, they are not racist. But of course he's going to claim racism is something different, because, you know, racists don't work with other people of races, you see. They don't employ people of various different origins and worldviews. They don't include diversity of thought and opinion and expression. Apparently all 3 of these men are racists, despite actively allowing that. Stupid then, stupid now. We're on the same page, Struggler. Stupid then, stupid now. And the pedantic reasons he went through this was in precipitation leading up to the Ironheart show.
These people and their orbiters exemplify everything this series is meant to combat. Farming and harvesting outrage, whining about women in basically any piece of media they appear in, pretending they are fans or former fans of the things they incessantly cry about. And racism. But the pussy kind of racism that the KKK employ. You know, hiding under bedsheets so they can live their lives in peace during the day while terrorizing black people at night.
You know, it sounds like you're comparing them to people who supposedly have to do what they have to do because they're inherently ashamed and know that society at large would push back against them. But it appears to me that that's just projection, Birdman. It's just projection. For example, they do it out in public. Well, that makes it worse. No, it means that your assertion and your comparison doesn't fucking work. Because they're not Ku Klux Klan members. I remember when people started making the insult Ku Klux Keisha in order to say that black people themselves are race traitors. I coined for you Ku Klux Canaan. Thank you, Power. What have you delivered for us except for the quintessential example of black media written for gangsters and drug lords by 50 Cent?
That's what these people do, only they've modernized the Klan tactics, hiding their racism behind hilariously weak media critiques that could have come from a crackerjack box. Poor writing this, slop that. Meanwhile, a 12-year-old could write the latest critical drinker video and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers just reads articles you could have read yourself and repeats himself for 10 minutes. Nerd right.
Yeah, but then this is an argument made of all those other people who do that as well, but they're not actually able to then extrapolate what that means for the scene of business. In the same breath, you could probably say this about anybody who is at the core of the fandom menace. Are you willing to extend this to people like Clownfish TV? How about people like Jeremy? How about anybody in the media sphere that looks at this from content and material, from the position of the Nebula elite? I really prefer Nebula niggas, but ever since that piece of content that I got from the guy with the giant fucking hair with the British voice, I think Nebula elite is the proper scholastic term we should use in terms of broadcasting. You won't extend this across the entire pond. This is just something you reserve specific for antagonizing people you believe are creating slop themselves because they claim everything is slop. And yet, since we're 8 months removed from it, I cannot wait to find out what the exposing of the grift of Ironheart is. Because remember, there was never going to be anything magical in the series. And that was proven wrong. But more importantly, what do you call things like Starfleet Academy? Is that not slop? What do you call things like Daredevil Born Again and the plots written into that show and its content? Is that not slop?
That waits for his master critical drinker to make a video and then repeats nearly everything he says, like the good little puppy that he is. These people have next to no insight to offer. It's just the same bullshit over and over. Video after video of these people complaining when a woman or a black person appears in something.
I mean, this pretty much is a critical opinion of anybody who makes content of this pattern. Can I apply this to you? No, because I'm different. I don't have things to say that are just people complaining about minorities. Are you sure? Are you sure? You know, a non-insightful young man once told me the explanation for everything that's wrong with it is that it's just money and Jews. Should we also apply that same worldview here? It's not that they're racist, it's just that it's money and Jews, you see. Money and Jews is the reason why they have these opinions. You're angry at him because it was a global agenda of the globalized infantina elite inherently putting worldviews into content so that you would better want to consume it. You see, it was the global homo. It was the global goy. The goyim, if you will. Again, Jews and money. Makes a lot more sense than them being just worldwide bigots, isn't it? And then again, would you miss an opportunity for Mr. Worldwide edits? You want some pit bowling in life?
We think they have made their points by now. Everything Disney makes sucks, so you should stop watching what they produce.
Well, you see, again, just like we said back then, we wait to see if they will listen to what we say. If they don't do what we asked for in terms of content and provide us something that is able to meet some of our basic requests while also being able to stick to what they consider to be their altruistic view of what the content should be, then we're going to make fun of them for that. And we will withhold our money. Or we will withhold the majority of the money that they could have earned to instead trade it for critical panning. I believe that's the best thing that people can ask for. Critical drinker. I think that's the best thing that they can ask for from people like Mahler and EFAP. I think that's the best thing they can ask for shows and group projects like The Real BBC. That wasn't as bad as I thought that cough was going to be. The things that they do for the show ran by the Little Platoon that he does on his own. And so on and so on and so on. Because the alternative, Birdman, is that you just want people to shut up and stop complaining. Which, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. Because this is exactly the reason why Highguard is such an interesting conversation right now. In terms of, like, the scopes of the consequences of what the media system has done. If the only thing that matters for a show is the fans that watch it, but then people don't watch this show in numbers that support the content itself, and Disney themselves effectively bury it, because through Marvel Entertainment, Marvel Studios, and whatever the fuck they're doing on streaming, they go from doing shit like this to doing shit like Wonder Man. Don't you think that that means they don't actually have confidence in their product? I think it does mean that they have no confidence in their product. Because why did they abandon that actress that way? not supporting her, not pushing her, not promoting her, inherently trying to edit the work and not put it out in a way that was following the production timeline. They put more effort into Agatha all along than they did for Ironheart. Blame GLAD all the fuck you want, nigga. I'll stand there with you and be like, yeah, this gay shit is cringe, because Agatha all along was in fact queer pandering. The writing style it had, the filming techniques it had, the inherent coy nature of how they were trying effectively to push Catherine Hahn in such a diva fashion. It was in fact something that you could quintessentially say has has a narrative and has a motive of itself and its own intentions. But the problem I probably have here, now that we're 8 months removed from this piece of garbage, is that you are going all out and going all in for a company because you have a personal project and you have a personal pet peeve problem with people that you view are an issue. And realistically, in my view, the people who you should be angry at is not Will Jordan or anybody else who's a part of the Phantom Menace. It should be Smash JT. Your problem is not with Nerdrotic. Your problem should be with Mark Kern. And any person who tries to defend him for stealing people's money over the project of Ember. Your issue is not whatever happens to come from the mouth of people who are effectively working alongside and with people like Mahler on every frame of pause, whether they be regular hosts or guests. Your problem should be with people like the Mighty Keith, who themselves actively ignore the criticism of the people in the middle and actively try to label anyone against them as far right or right wing, or just something that they actually clearly aren't, because they don't have a narrative answer to people who they have actively gone out of their way to try to ignore. It is very ignoble of you to do this. Very short-sighted, generally, period. Because, again, I don't know why you're power wording the Critical Drinker's name to me. I don't care what his name is. I care what his views are. I care what his opinion is. And unfortunately, if I have to weigh these two things, I'm going to go with him over you. Not just because of the way you choose to attack him, but more specifically, the absence of what you're actually saying. You shouldn't trust these people to be your critics. Why? Why not? They consumed the content. They watched it. By that argument, myself and Jay should never be used as a standard. And that doesn't work, because we saw it. We watched the content. We consumed it. We watched it. We reviewed it.
Right? Aren't those the marching orders? So why is it they continue to watch? Continue to make videos on a subject they've already told you not to watch?
Because they want to see if the work gets wet better. Same reason people are looking at Highguard right now. The studio creator right now for Highguard believes that it is not their job to improve the game. It's their job to put out a game based on the vision that they had. But they clearly didn't have a vision for the content. And the critical opinions that they're getting from the masses that are telling them, turn off Secure Boot, make the game 5v5, which they now have by promoting it into a permanent mode, and all this other shit that they have on their roadmap, it's definitive that they didn't actually have a vision for what the game should be, and they were just going off vibes, as that was the original goal of the Shadow Drop, which was destroyed when Keighley gave them the ability to be seen up front dead center.
Are they not preaching to the choir? The converted are not watching, right? Who are these videos for then, if Disney has fallen off and nobody...
The people in the middle, like anything. The purpose of the debate is not for the people on the side of the extremes that agree with the margins of the opponent and proponent. It's for the people who would come across the information like a time capsule, so they may be able to hear people actually discuss the issues, and then be able to understand the people in the middle. But unfortunately, low information content creators and low information influencers and low information consumers, they are very unlikely to be able to be moved only because their heads are already empty and they probably filled it with propaganda from somebody else. Again, your problem isn't with people like me, it's not with people like Jay, it's not like people like myself and Jay together collectively as a tag team, it's not with people like the Phantom Menace, and it's not with these creators individually or collectively. Your problem is with people like the Act Man. You should be going after people like the Act Man. The Act Man doesn't actually have anything to say about this content. He literally panders his opinion from Reddit, and then uses the Reddit opinion of the liberal side, that of those that pander to the left wing, as a buffering tool upon which to have relevancy. I agree with the opinion of the people of the masses. Therefore, I'm the ha-ha funny man making the jokes at the consequence of the people that are part of the content, because this is the side the audience shows. I'm howling for the glory of the overdog, not the cry of the underdog. That opinion isn't an opinion. Oh, I agree with the people who are winning. Why? Because they're winning. But why? He couldn't tell you. His opinion is just as bad as any other person who is effectively a non-issue and a non-clause. Which is why I use the example of irrelevant. His answer of money and Jews is just as dumb as an opinion that I heard last night that I was telling Cassie about this morning before I left, so I could, chill and have a nap. But Carl, that would make sense. It's not about making sense. It's about making a statement. There's an audio plug that deserves to be in an edit. Oh, Lord of mercy. Mark. Mark. It's really dumb when guys complain about criticizing it, but never have any entertaining or informing enough opinions of an alternative that makes it more worthless listening to him. Well, you see, at one point in time, as you can clearly see here, when you look at the actual page that all of his videos are coming from, that I'm currently looking at on his content, once upon a time, the Birdman was actually able to offer opinion of his own, while also doing the job that you could say was abdicated by all the other content creators. But look here at the content that started being produced as he decided to start doing this shit, right? Randomly, out of nowhere, he decided to start making himself the one who would fight the grifters as a part of content. And right about here. Well, no, it's technically further back. It's right about here. But right in this area right here. From What is a Remake? You don't know what a remake is. Let's talk episode 33.5. From here forward, you see so many pieces of content that just starts coming forward where it's, I'm going to attack a content creator. Ooh, that made me a lot of attention and a lot of content. So, I'm going to keep doing it again and 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 again. And it's clearly for the views in the video. Even if he's putting out other content, you can see that these opinion piece videos, these yapping videos, these Birdman yaps start dominating his content. This was effectively an essay channel, where the essay was a rebuttal to CinemaSins and how they got something wrong with CinemaSins. But unfortunately, this is now the domineering nature of the majority of the content that comes out from him. Because now when you catch up to the rest of the content, same thing, 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 same thing. And just, he has more segments about opinions than he does segments about the actual everything sucks. It really kicks into full force around exposing the grift and media grifters machine. And it's not to say that he doesn't have something to say. It's that the things that he has to say are repetitive in the nature of how he's trying to hold this opinion at the same time that he's incapable of really being able to make it land and not just be, I'm angry about what is the new popular thing. And then it continues to be the case with less content covering everything wrong with than it is just, I'm going to continue to antagonize people. As you clearly see, he does it to get attention from these people. Because he finally succeeded in getting that attention last month from the Birdman. from Critical Drinker, which I'll put behind the Lupita Nyong'o example. Or actually, no. Let's do it historically. This one is the one that happened from a day ago. This one is from a month ago. This one behind it is the follow-up from him attempting to preface this as a preamble of you're being lied to by the media grifters about Ironheart. All of these things come down to the basis of him effectively being unwilling to actually discuss the problem he really has in the middle, which is that he's annoyed by a type of media grifter that effectively doesn't actually have to do the job. Hello, Boster. He's annoyed by a type of media grifter that doesn't actually have to do the work and do the job. They can just say things and people take them at their word because woke, 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 woke. But unfortunately, that doesn't work on people like Jay, and it doesn't work on people like me. Because I don't have to use the word woke to describe my negative opinions of the media process that's being put into content creation, whether it be television, news, film, or review, or whatever the fuck you want to use inside the medium field you're discussing. Because it's just proselytization. It's just media proselytization. In some cases, some people use religion. In some cases, some people use culture and culture jamming. And in many cases, they use something as a determinant for bridge, as a replacement for actual compartmented and wholly cognizant criticisms, but he no longer is able to actually attest or address, because everyone in his mind is a media grifter. It's not just that he's lying, or that we're lying, or that you're lying, or that I'm lying. It's that they're lying, and they know that they're lying. But let's get through the rest of this.
Nobody is watching them anymore. Welcome to the grift. Today, we're going to take Nerdrotic's necrotic take on Ironheart to task. We already know what this Fruit Loops problem with this character is. And no, Warlock Master Race, it's not because she's poorly written, as if you could know that about a show that won't be out for over a month from only a trailer, you parrot dipshit. It's because she's black, and to a lesser extent, a female. I mean, we can address the writing content when we get to your second video, but no, actually, based on how they chose to introduce the character of Ironheart, she was in fact poorly written. I don't have to know that by seeing her show come out. I can go by how they chose to introduce her. They did to her what people have been doing in everything. They've been using them as backdoor pilots. You introduced a character in a Disney Plus show that then got pushed into the whole TV and television and film crossover universe of the MCU as a presser to allow for the character to be included into the content. There was no background for why Ironheart basically is going back in time. Why would she ever need to go back to America in order to be able to build and make something like an Iron Man suit when she could literally just work in Wakanda and do it? Like, in the universe where we have the writing that was the basis upon why Black Panther would allow for an outreach center to exist for the purposes of reaching Wakandan diplomacy, she would never, ever, ever have to go and be potentially kicked out of a school to try and reclaim her art and her work in the form of her Iron Man suit. No. They would never have to do that. She would just call Shuri, and Shuri would give her all of the fucking things she needed, because she already proved that she could be able to do it. That's what those fucking Midnight Savior suits were. They were effectively post-Tony Iron Man technology. You don't even need to introduce her in Wakanda Forever this way. It reeks of bad writing. And the problem here, ultimately, which is why a lot of us criticize you, are we talking about plot holes? No. I'm talking about his inability in this particular moment where he just said that you can't be able to criticize the writing of a character for a show that at the time this was done 8 months ago, Ironheart hadn't fully premiered yet. But from the teasers and the trailer leaks, it was very clear that there was magic involved in the creation of the show, as it revealed itself in the plot of the show. Perhaps that's another show that needs to be done by me, so that we can all be on the same page. Perhaps. But no, I could tell that the character is poorly written because of how she was introduced. She didn't need to be backdoor piloted into the MCU in Wakanda Forever.
That was a bad outing for her character. Her character needed to have its own introduction story and then be introduced into other people's stories. They needed to use a Netflix approach of how you cross people over in Marvel, rather than choosing to do the bad Kamen Rider example, where everything you get comes from a piece of medium that is on itself a premium subscription platform. I should not have to watch Marvel television to keep up with something that's happening in a movie canonity. It can be a nice callback. It can be nice notes. It should not be something that is so greatly provocative and evocative of transformation of the world building of the world that I effectively have to watch this show in order to understand who a fucking character is. Because they should be summarized in the media work that they're being seen in. And that effectively is what they did with the truncation of the background of Ironheart. You can tell by the movie, you can tell by how they presented and how they wrote a lot of the things in the show, and you can tell by what they chose to put forward in the trailer. They inherently chose to play up Mephisto. They inherently chose to play up the concept that they're using science and technology to power the suit, which is exactly what they did when they started using the backstory of the character in the final episodes to justify how you took the Eve Ewing characteristic and characterization of her writing, which is a form of us knowing the character before we ever got to the fucking goddamn show, to know that the character was poorly written. The character was itself a creation of the young Avengers, and a storyline invented by Eve herself. Specifically, where she gets the ass beaten off of her by Thanos, and she has extreme levels of PTSD. You truncate that, you take out the origin that comes with all this other shit she would have been a part of, and what you have left is, here's a character that comes the fuck out of nowhere, who just basically, black girl, her dad and her best friend were victims of gang violence, and that gave her trauma, but she somehow gets stuck on Iron Man tech, because that's the source of where the character's inspiration to be different, but similar, brings her into the fold. Is that a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing. But is it something that I can then use to predict the flow state of how the writing's going to work? Yes, it is. And at that point, that's just cope. With the power of foresight in history, this is just you looking like an asshole, Birdman.
Look at the thumbnail. He's showing Robert Downey Jr. in blackface from an entirely unrelated movie. Don't you?
Because the joke is that it's meant to be iconic. Kind of like RDA's performance of Tropic Thunder. Are you just mad that he put a thumbnail together? Composition. Oh no, is that everything wrong with his content? Da-dun-da.
Wonder why he would do something like that.
Bringing you over 1 million hellions and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet, there is a handful of characters that personify everything wrong with Marvel Comics and now Marvel Studios, including but not limited to Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, no, not Miss Marvel from the comics, Captain Marvel, Sana Amanat self-insert Kamala Khan as Miss Marvel, and Riri Williams as Ironheart.
Did you notice that all of the characters he showed were either non-white or female? So
yeah, because they are legacy characters that happen to be non-white and female. Is it racism to point out that they clearly have an agenda to try and push something equivalent to women are the future? Because that's why we called it the MCU in Phase 5. I'm sorry, when you decide to use diversity, equity, and inclusion as a justification to write characters that are effectively the non-standard, and in your worldview, non-standard is white male, yes, it's going to look like he's antagonizing women, but he's not criticizing because they're women. He's criticizing because they suck. If the men sucked, like Wonder Man, I'd criticize them.
So the female and non-white characters are the problem with Marvel Comics, you say? Marvel Comics, the company that went bankrupt in the 90s and had to sell their characters piecemeal, an event that led to Sony making terrible Spider-Man movies that don't feature Spider-Man, that Marvel Comics?
Yes. Yes. Because it's not about they aren't capable of diversity and they didn't do diversity before. It's that these characters fucking suck.
No, Marvel Comics were in dire straits long before Ironheart and Kamala Khan, particularly due to the fact that they went bankrupt before those characters even existed. That's right, the company that created the X-Men couldn't keep things afloat before so-called wokeism. But what bites my...
But that has nothing to do with wokeism. That has everything to do with the state and phase of the culture that we currently exist in, and the zeitgeists pushed by groups like GLAAD that justify them to have to do it, especially when they're attempting to pander for views. In other words, the mechanism that forces me and Jay to suffer watching the interview with the vampire and Mayfair Witches and the Talamasca series, that is the mechanism that we're dealing with. Not the mechanism that you believe you're going to try and describe to him is the problem with him and his content.
I ask is that it's not these characters that makes it difficult to float as a comic book company. The industry has struggled since its inception. Comics have always been a niche product. Even during the so-called heyday of the MCU, comic sales never reached the highs of the 60s or the 80s, and that's mainly because nobody in the West likes to fucking read anymore.
Yeah, because they like reading scans, and they like getting physical products only if they're a collector. Like the people that you're criticizing are fake fans, and are grifters, and are liars, and schemers, and scoundrels, and snake oil salesmen. The people that they effectively are meaning to sell to are the people that when they put a QR code inside the fucking streaming show to get them to get a fucking sign up to Marvel Unlimited, they will not do that. Because they could give fuck less about the actual comic content. The people that you should complain to are the people who effectively cheer on this level of tripe show. But unfortunately, you direct your problem at the people who you clearly want to antagonize, which is the people you don't like. But unfortunately, it's not their fault, and it's not their problem. Unfortunately, it's not their fault, and it's not their problem. That's what I said, Carl. That's what I said, Carl. That's what I said, Carl. Also, hello, Pipcat. Why does it continue to do this on my fucking edit? Why? Why, SpongeBob? Why? Why does it always undeafen itself randomly? Click this button. Click this button. Mute this here, and then mute this here. So now it should remain muted. Got it. Get it, good. You're grateful that they got the new one show get canceled because they couldn't be able to make the Mahershala Ali Blade? I mean, that's a case of production hell. Certainly he would say that's inside the scope of the criticism, but I think that it goes way far beyond the actual scope. Because his problem is with grifters and people who supposedly don't really care about the content. They just want to be able to attack something for money. But unfortunately, the thing is that the people that he's criticizing are themselves passionate about shit. It's like saying that myself and Jay can't be passionate about writing and about good television shows and good movies because we have such a negative opinion of shows that go out of their way to clearly pander to, in the case of Interview with the Vampire, a fag-hag audience. Making a show with queer bait and the drama for the purposes of women that use gay culture as a replacement for their own culture is not, because you're inherently doing it out of a hatred, not a compassion.
Back in the 50s, Marvel, then known as Atlas Comics, had to deal with the Comics Code Authority stifling artistic expression, something that directly led to declining sales. When Ron Perlman bought Marvel in the 80s, he contributed to the company's bankruptcy by spending hundreds of millions of dollars to acquire a doomed toy company in the hopes to capitalize on the collectibles boom, not realizing that speculation isn't the same as sustainability. Perlman turned Marvel into a bubble, pumping out endless variant covers and hollow crossover events to milk short-term sales while burning long-term goodwill with readers. That was greed and corporate vampirism. And when that bubble inevitably popped in the 90s, it wasn't because Spider-Man was black or because Carol Danvers got a haircut. Those versions of the characters weren't even on the scene yet. It was because the suits at the top treated comics like penny stocks instead of stories.
So, ironic. His opinion literally is money and Jews. Crazy! Maybe there's something to this! Oh my god. Anyways. The simplification of attempting to say the problems of Marvel are because of the way things were done in the past, not the way they choose to carry things in the future. Abdication. You decided this is not the conversation you want to have. You want to make it about something that is out of the scope of what most of these people would have a conversation about. Which itself is lazy.
The truth is, Marvel's biggest threats have always come from inside the house. Mismanagement, corporate overreach, and short-sighted business models. Not for
just like everything else. So are we able to criticize the people who are then at fault for that type of problem? Or no?
giving the spotlight to a Pakistani-American girl who stretches her arms or a black girl in a suit of armor. So when these grifters cry that Marvel's downfall is due to forced diversity, they're either ignorant of history or deliberately distorting it. All three are derivative characters of a male hero. Some are derivatives of derivatives. All three were developed for the comics solely based on their identity to push inclusivity, and that's the exact same reason they were rushed into the MCU. What are you even arguing here, Gary? The alternative is to shoehorn white male characters, something we have quite enough of. The original X-Men featured 4 white men and 1 white woman. The Fantastic Four debuted with 3 white guys and 1 white woman. The original Avengers had 4 white men and 1 white woman. That is until Captain America showed up to replace the Hulk, in which case another white man joined the team. Hell, the MCU's Avengers were again 5 white men and 1 white woman. Let's do the math, guys. That's 21 white characters, 17 men and 4 women across 3 iconic teams and 2 different mediums. 50% of the population is somehow a minority here, and literally everyone is white. What? Stan Lee literally created Black Panther specifically because Marvel was only outputting white characters and their black readers had no representation. And you're mad because we got one Pakistani woman? Amazing. In the comics, all three have been repeated.
I would say this is argument absurdum. It's not about the quantity of characters that are, I have one minority character and 20 other characters. What do you think we should do, Kim Belair? Well, if we're going to have a character, and they're going to be this, and they're going to be this, and they're going to be this, is there going to be this? Is it possible that we can possibly change them to be this? Yes, we can. So in a time period where we've got several characters that are effectively a replication and a repudiation of effectively all these media points, is it possible that any of these characters could potentially be, male, competent, not made the butt of a joke? No, why would we do that? We already have a very capable and intellectually smart woman who's already intelligent. Rage bait. By any other determinate means. Rage bait. Because it would be the fact that in fact, that we could have that conversation. But you wouldn't accept it the other way around. So why should we accept the same argument from the position of your stock? Because you say so. Because you think so. Because you know so. And that's a lot of taking your word for it. That I should not do. White. That's a lot of taking your word for it that I should not do. Because you won't take people's word for why they think they don't like something. You say that the reasons they don't like it is that they're just pandering, and they're also stupid, and they're also dumb, and they're also antagonistically against the middle and the people involved within it. No, I think it is the case that you specifically really do not like the opinions that those people have formed of their own volition. You see them as a problem. You see them as a problem with other people who express themselves as a part of the problem. And that inherently creates a problem for everybody across the board. Because there's no ability to actually have a discussion. It's just antagonism with extra steps. And with the antagonism with extra steps, it is also the accosting that also comes with a part of the issue itself. It's not enough to criticize it. It's not enough to criticize it because I'm passionate about it. Everything I'm doing inherently becomes a grift in your mind. So it can't be that it's my opinion. It's that I am short-sighted and I don't know enough. So it's your job to inform me. Despite the fact that you're not informing me, you're just badgering me. That is no way in which you're supposed to be able to meet the world when it comes to these concepts. And that is the reason why it's a shorthand problem. I'm covering the Birdman. Yes, I am doing the Lord's work indeed. I'm going behind myself and I'm looking at his opinion from Ironheart because I intended to make a video about it, but my coughing, I forgot. But also, he has a new take about Lupita Nyong'o that I've been presented by a member of my audience. So I have to look into it. I'm going to be looking into other things as well, but this is what we're starting off with. Basically to tell if the pineapple and the bromine in the pineapple that I drank is doing its job to help prevent and exhaust my cough. Which I think we can say is definitely happening, because I was able to speak non-stop without me getting into a coughing fit. But then again, we'll have to see as we get there. In totality of the opinion, you cannot see people complain about the minority status mantle characters that are being inserted into the MCU to create these narrative talks and say that people are clearly racists and bigots and misogynists because they don't like those characters. You're putting the cart before the horse. Is it more likely that I hate those female characters because slop YouTuber and racist misogynistic bigot who hates women? Or is it possible that it's not money and Jews, but it's bad writing and bad leaders and bad formatting? Because you clearly agree, the Birdman, with that you've got mismanagement from inside. Yes, there's a lot of it in the MCU. There's a lot of it inside of Marvel. There's a lot of it inside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the script doctors, and the actors, and the writers, and everything else in between. Like, it's a shit show from the top to the bottom. The clear years from Phase 1 to Phase 3 do not match the years of Phase 4 to what effectively is going to be called Phase 6, when we hit Secret Wars, and when we finally get to Doomsday. For every single film that you can say is quintessentially good, great, and finally achieved bringing us something that we didn't get, like, say, a proper Fantastic Four movie, with a real Galactus, that is actually Galactus, you are effectively responsible for effectively kicking the can down the road. Because every time you say it's money and Jews, every time you say it's misogynists and grifters, this shorthand abdication is what makes it impossible for people to agree with your state of being and state of mind. It is much more the case that you are effectively at fault for absurdly choosing to focus only on the people you consider to be at the core of the problem than the people who are collectively at the source of the problem. Clearly, the source of the problem is that you have an issue with in-house management and with scope. But unfortunately, the problem with the scope is that you decided you don't actually have to do the work. And that's probably my problem. It's everybody's problem, especially when you keep saying that particular creators are the fault, that are pushing this opinion, when realistically, this is an opinion that all observers have. Like, some people wanted Daredevil to be good, bro. Some people wanted Deadpool to be good. Some people wanted the X-Men. But we can't get some of these things because, one, rights. And then two, the world in which they were trying to make the universe of the MCU was a world that effectively had to use metahuman instead of mutant. And it was a structural choice. It was a clear structural choice to do that. Can't blame the grifters! The call comes from inside the house. And you have to reserve some of that energy that you have for Will Jordan onto the rest of us and the marketing team.
Heatedly pushed on a fan base that absolutely rejects them.
That doesn't even make sense. These are characters in a book. Besides school, how are books being pushed on you? You either buy them or you don't. Literally, no one has a gun to your head, you fake-ass victim. If you don't like the characters, don't buy the books and don't watch media they appear in. Why are you making simple choices sound like they are killing you?
The reason why is probably because the way in which they create this content, they actively use abdication of the space as justification for more work. These people clearly want this content, so we're going to push this content on them in this way, and we won't stop even when we clearly have gotten signs that we definitely should. Because why would we listen to these people? They don't consume our content, they don't support our work, forehead. And then you keep getting the same problem over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Which in and of itself does not help anything. It does not.
I don't like lima beans, so I don't buy them, because I'm an adult and I can make that choice. You don't see me making videos about big lima bean and some conspiracy about Kathleen Kennedy forcing the vegetable on me.
Unfortunately, this is the viewpoint that comes with the idea of mixing and matching this. We exist in a medium where there are people that are inside of these companies that are a part of the corruption that you have, that are the ones telling them to make this show, because they are clearly telling them that if they do it, they will create a modern audience that will then consume the content non-stop. It is the viewpoint expressed by the High Guard developer. It is the view that was expressed by Leslie about the Acolyte. They said, you build it, they will come. They built it, niggas didn't show up. Who do we blame? Do we blame our audience for not consuming content, or do we blame the grifters for having an opinion? Guess who they went with? They blamed the grifters. And the problem was going to happen again. And when it happens again, it's going to happen again because you didn't want to blame the actual people who are at fault. Mm, 2300 Empire.
leading to all 3 of them being featured in multiple canceled comics.
How is it possible that you ran a comic book store and don't understand the end of a run? You're literally showing on the screen a blurb saying the series ended, not was canceled. Eve Ewing, the author of that run, stated clearly the run was supposed to be 12 issues and that her first solo title would wrap with the 12th issue. All arcs and storylines in that series were concluded. Here's a scan of the last page from that issue. See how it says the end and how the back of the book teases her return in a team-up? You're clearly lying to your audience. And I mean that both ways, because Ironheart had a second solo run that began in 2020, and she even got a one-shot this very year. Looking very not canceled there, huh, Gary? But you get away with this lie because your audience won't check and apparently appreciate being blatantly lied to.
Which in turn was the spark that led to
The thing that is weird about this is that actually his own peers could have checked behind him and correct this. And in fact, actually, it's the job of people like you, Birdman, that are supposed to hold him in contempt. But you see, the problem is that the people who are doing the work, the people who are expressing and learning about the character, they're not doing it from the comic book standard. They're doing it from the television standard. They're not concerned with the character as they exist in comics. They're concerned with how they exist within the MCU. These are two different things. And unfortunately, these characters that are being adapted that are a part of it, which one do you want to go with? You don't know what you're talking about with this character because you haven't even seen the show that they're in yet. This character is being adapted from this work that came from the comic book, which is the source about how you are able to understand this character's opinion and their worldview and their concepts and the writing that it came from. But you couldn't possibly know how they're going to adapt it in the MCU with this writing, so you're clearly grifting. Which one do you want? Do you want you're lying now or you were lying then? One hand is you are telling people that they can't know what's going to happen because the shit didn't come out your ass yet. The other hand is people don't know what they're talking about because how could they know what they're specifically going to adapt from the story when they're using the story beats, beat for beat, word for word, line for line. Stealing the content bar for fucking bar. Shit on my plate, lie to my face. Shit on my plate, lie to my face. Your choice was to come together like butt cheeks and say, Mazekala, 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 Pinku, and slap me across my face and say that I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh no, nobody would ever critique me for having that worldview and opinion. No. You see, if you don't agree with that concept that I just explained, you're a grifter. Money and Jews. My opinion is better than yours because I'm a better comic book fan. Let's go bar for bar. Let's go band for band. It's not real. There's no way that viewpoint is real. Hello, Avalon.
the beginning of the decline that continues to this very day for Marvel Comics.
Another headline taken out of its context. What a surprise. The article Gary is showing here is from The Guardian. In this article, the author puts words in David Gabriel's mouth, claiming he blamed declining sales on Marvel's increased diversity. The claim that diversity tanked Marvel's sales is a lie built...
Grifters love this article. No, it would be that grifters love this argument. Again, your job is to hold them to critical standards. If you can't do that, that's a you problem. Take accountability. Just a little bit of accountability. Not a lot, just a little.
built on a misquote. What actually happened was that David was interviewed by ICV2 and was reporting feedback from a few shops on how they were dealing with the economy in late 2016. The economy at that time experienced slowdown, particularly due to Trump's incumbency. As David goes on to say, during an economic slowdown, most people tend to stick to the familiar, so they mainly purchase books from classic heroes. He states that for the past 3 years, comic book readers were supporting the diversity and that this change was sudden, something the company had to react to. He then goes on to clarify that diverse characters like Miss Marvel, Jane Foster's Thor, and Miles Morales had strong, enthusiastic readerships and that the company would continue producing them. It's almost like whenever you actually dig into what these grifters say, you find out they're lying and didn't actually read the sources they produce.
Coincidentally, with just 2 of those 3 characters, Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel, the same thing is happening to Marvel Studios. Now it looks like Kevin Feige is determined to repeat all of the mistakes of the comic books and lead to the same failures by finally releasing Ironheart. So that's right, in the year of our Lord 2020, on December 10th, Kevin Feige announced there was going to be an Ironheart series. Admittedly, these were the days that Marvel thought they could do no wrong. The series was rushed into development and she made her first iconic appearance in Wakanda Forever. Then, upon the completion of production on Ironheart 3 years ago, Kevin Feige actually watched it, and thanks to the worst time strikes in history, he was able to kick that can as far down the road as he could. Don't believe me? Well, aside from the fact that this show has again been on the shelf for 3 years.
Nerdrotic, like his master Will Jordan, apparently doesn't know shit about film production. Newsflash, genius, most films and TV shows don't come out immediately after they are filmed. Sometimes there are issues within production that causes work to be done later than usual, and in this case, the series was affected by
by the strikes of 2023, something you mentioned but don't seem to understand the significance of. The show was principally filmed in late 2022. They needed to do additional photography, but then the strikes happened in mid-2023, so they couldn't film until 2024, which they did. Then the show was edited in 2024. So no, Ironheart was not on the shelf for 3 years because production wasn't completed until last year. You are once again lying to your gullible audience. Ironheart has already broken what I believe will be a lot of unfortunate records. The first trailer for Ironheart broke the record for the shortest amount of time between any live-action MCU project's first trailer and its release. The previous record holder, Daredevil Born Again. How did that turn out?
Pretty fucking sweet. Or are you now going to tell us Daredevil Born Again was a terrible show?
Now, the word on the street is that if Disney Marvel had its way, just like with Echo, they wouldn't release this, but they have to, so the best thing to do would be to either dump it all at once or delay it as much as possible. And now that we've seen some behind-the-scenes footage and the trailer, we know...
I'm not going to address some of these arguments because I've already addressed them before in the past. And also, those things are outside the scope of the argumentation. But to touch briefly on these shows, the popularity of a show and how many people watched it does not reflect people's critical opinions about the show afterwards. You could call it a critical success or a commercial success, but unfortunately the problem here is that the supposed success of the show is itself a detriment to the people watching the content and how lazy it was. Be it as it may, that is the reality of what you're dealing with there.
Know why. There is two schools of thought here. The big brains at Marvel either decided to release the Ironheart trailer just hours before James Gunn's Superman to compete with it, or to bury it. I report you decide. Either way, neither of them worked.
Now you sound like CinemaSins with his dumbass prediction about Civil War versus Batman v Superman. These are not even competing products. One is a TV show about a legacy character, the other is a feature film about Superman. You can literally watch both. I have no idea why you people think you can't eat peanut butter with your chocolate.
And this may be another reason they delayed the footage until the last possible minute, because it looks like it's heading towards an iconic ratio.
Oh wow, YouTube dislikes, the pinnacle of internet discourse. I'm sure those people that left a dislike on a trailer for a black comic book character thought long and hard about that trailer they just seen, and were not acting out behavior that people like you, geeks and gamers in the quartering, have taught them, right? I mean, because that would be completely unbelievable. People trolling and dislike brigading on the internet? In any case, these methods to see the dislikes on a YouTube video are famously unreliable. One of the more popular methods, the return YouTube dislike plugin, uses a seriously strange algorithm that divides the behavior of the site's users and then multiplies that by the public like count. This is very obviously going to give ridiculous dislike totals, and we have a very clear example of this on one of Mr. Beast's videos, where this plugin gave the dislike total of that video as being over 1 million, only for Mr. Beast to confirm the like to dislike ratio on that video was actually 99% positive, with only 20,000 dislikes. I can also confirm this myself. This commenter thought one of my videos got ratioed, when even though I did get brigaded by Critical Drinker's psychopathic followers, the video still clearly has far more likes than dislikes.
How would you think that you know that those people are directly related to that content creator and that he specifically sent them to brigade you? You're doing a lot of heavy lifting where you're effectively accusing him of something that he clearly doesn't need to do to you, but you claim he did anyways. I smell coping. Coping in the seething. Seething in the sneeding.
Dislikes, not even close to a ratio. That said, I have no doubt this video has a bunch of dislikes. It's a black superhero property in 2025 after all. I'm just saying that no one should trust these numbers.
But I tell you, there's no happier guy on earth that Ironheart got delayed so long it came out after Sinners, which I like, than executive producer Ryan Coogler.
I got into Marvel as a kid, going to comic book shops. I was really big on X-Men and all the offshoots, like X-Factor and Wolverine. When Ironheart came out, I remember the buzz around the industry.
Okay, first off, why in the hell would you show this cover? It's one of the worst in comic book history. It's like somebody cut a girl in half and put 2 deer legs on the bottom.
Hey Gary, you see the big 1 on the top left corner? Yeah, that number indicates the first. And as Ryan was talking about the buzz surrounding the title upon its debut, that's why they're showing the first cover. And now, children, we will learn subtraction.
Now, if by buzz you mean the 45th best-selling comic the month Ironheart came out, which sold 40,000 copies, which admittedly comic shops would kill for those kind of numbers, but the reason we don't get numbers like that anymore is because you kept releasing comics like Ironheart.
What Gary isn't showing you is that literally everything above Ironheart is an ongoing series or about well-established characters with decades of comic book history. The only exception was Firefly, a comic based on the canceled cult classic TV show, which again is something based on an established property. Not only does this mean Ironheart's debut went incredibly well, as the book's numbers were within 10,000 of the top 20, Gary also fails to mention that these lists are usually based on a top 500. Like, look at the 500th place book, The Amazing Spider-Man number 8. See what happens when you have the full context?
And in 2019, when the Ironheart Volume 1 trade paperback Those with Courage was released, it was the 328th best-selling book of the year, selling a whopping 2,640 copies to comic shops.
Another fudging of the numbers. First of all, Gary doesn't forget these lists are ranked all the way up to the multiple hundreds this time. Very curious. And second, the book he's referring to is a $20 compilation of the first 6 books in her original solo series. I'll say that one more time. Gary is using a reissue compilation to make the point that she was unpopular a year after her run debuted. This is the equivalent of saying the 2025 box office run of Episode 3 proves that movie isn't as financially successful as The Fall Guy. This man is that dishonest.
Not too long after that, things got so bad in the comic book industry, they stopped reporting sales.
Gary just forgot that a worldwide pandemic happened in 2020, apparently. Also, comic book companies don't report their sales and haven't at least since the time frame we're talking about in 2017. The only company that was doing so was Diamond, a third-party company, which is where these rankings came from. You can see these forum members talking about exactly that in 2017, a year before Ironheart's solo series.
That sounds like the perfect thing to adapt and rush into production while spending hundreds of millions of dollars only to sit on it for 3 years.
He's literally contradicting himself here. He says they rushed into production. The series was announced in 2020 and didn't begin filming until 2022. That's not what rush means. And as explained earlier, the series was finished in 2024. They did not sit on the series for 3 years. This man doesn't know what he's talking about at all.
Now, after spending a decade in the comics and half a decade in the movies, taking legacy characters and replacing them with diverse characters because you could just pass the mantle, and just a few months after Sam Wilson officially took over the mantle of Captain America, that completely failed. This time they want you to know they're not passing the mantle.
Wholly run on sentence, Batman. He tried to squeeze in so many buzzwords and dog whistles into that soliloquy, he nearly forgot to breathe. I remind you, this is a man that ran a comic book shop but somehow doesn't know what a legacy character is. He just called actual legacy characters diverse characters that are replacing legacy characters. That sentence makes no sense. It's like calling the number 1 2 and saying 2 comes after 2. What?
I called him out about this on Twitter, and here he is misusing the term legacy character again. So this isn't him misspeaking. He actually thinks a legacy character is the original character that holds the mantle. This alone should call...
When we addressed this, when we were doing this live on air with Jay, I was able to discern that basically this clip, this particular scene here, and everything that he did with his content here, was specifically him going out of his way to do exactly what he did to finally successfully achieve, with getting noticed by the people that he was effectively criticizing and hounding, so that he can then be able to use this as a way to make more content on work. So, he ultimately... Ow, my neck is itchy. He ultimately is antagonizing every single word they say so that he can spread around as many potential rakes as possible and caltrops as possible as a argumentation point to try and just nickel and dime and naysay anything anybody he doesn't like says. If you want a better critique of it, go back and watch Jay's coverage of this video that has me on it, and then look at the VOD that happened the next day afterwards on my own channel. I can't remember what day that was, but whatever day it is on her stream, the immediate day following that morning, it's on my channel.
Call into question anything he has to say about comic books, because he's clearly a fake fan that thinks having toys in his background lends him credibility.
A lot of people think that she's a successor to the Iron Man legacy.
I mean, if we have content in our background that expresses that we like certain pieces of content, and it's that you have stuff, and therefore that means you must be a fan, I think if we remove the argumentation that any amount of memorabilia somehow means that you can say that you are thus a critic, I think you'd find that a lot of those people who do that, they themselves can't be critics because they just have a tangential like of a thing. They don't have enough passionate points about the thing, because that's why most video essayists themselves reveal themselves to be fucking stupid. Or they're like fucking Jose, who writes narrative pieces and video essays about shows that effectively support their left-wing opinions and act as a way for them to pander to an audience that could like their content because they're shitting on something or they're appreciating something that other people might like in the same I like pancakes, you like pancakes, clearly that means we're Nobel Peace Prize winners kind of way. Which is why you end up getting people like the Ackman. Because when you don't actually have to call for deeper thought, deeper opinions, and deeper understanding, that is how you allow people like him to actually media grift. Because as long as he agrees with the opinion of the approved tribe, he can get away with whatever he wants. Because not enough people of size will hold him accountable. Which is what you claim you need to do, but, you know, when somebody holds you accountable, you basically refuse to address it.
In the comic book, Riri and Tony had a friendship. He was kind of advising her.
Except she wasn't really advised by Tony Stark, because the comic they were showing right there was an AI version because he was dead. Surprise, surprise. Nerdrotic is once again leaving out context or simply unaware of that context because he's not a real comic book reader. First of all, Ryan Coogler has no control over the editing of this video. Since the interview is about Ironheart, the editor is simply providing B-roll that somewhat relates to what Ryan is saying, but that's not what Coogler is talking about. He is correct in stating that Tony and Riri had a friendship because he's referring to the 2 runs before Ironheart's solo series, where she's in Iron Man's book leading up to Civil War II in the 2015 series, Invincible Iron Man Volume 3, number 12, and the follow-up to that series, the 2016 volume of Invincible Iron Man, where Riri dons the Iron Man mantle. These books are years older than Ironheart's solo series. What's more is that Nerdrotic is attempting to make a distinction between Tony and his AI construct when the comics themselves don't make that distinction, at least not in the way Gary is trying to. The book treats this AI that was built by Tony himself as a true representation of the character and has all his mannerisms and personality. The second issue explicitly tells us that Tony downloaded his consciousness into this AI, and that is how Williams was trained to fight as Iron Man through the Iron Legion. What I'm saying is, Gary is making a distinction without a difference, a logical fallacy.
And eventually, she got her own identity as Ironheart.
The story of Ironheart is not a story about the mantle of Iron Man getting passed. If anything, it's the opposite.
It's really about her proving herself and achieving her own legacy.
Creating your own legacy by stealing everything the legacy character established, including his own book. That doesn't even make sense. How could the in-universe character steal the out-of-universe book? Why would he say that a character that is assuming a mantle is stealing their book? This fruitcake has Batman's symbol in his background. He would never suggest Damian Wayne stole Batman's books, even though he assumed the mantle. And he is, yet again, misusing the term legacy character. Riri Williams is a legacy character. And
it's very important to note here that the clip they use in this frame...
No, he assumed the mantle. And he is, yet again...
is a clip directly from TV Tropes, which is a now fully cannibalized left-wing diatribe form that can be considered TV and movie trope Reddit. They have a very stringent way about how they edit the forms, about how they allow for attribution to content, and about how they choose to antagonize people that disagree with their opinions. They are not a place that you go to for civil agreeance and disobedience. They're assholes.
misusing the term legacy character. Riri Williams is a legacy character. And never mind the fact that although it was never going to succeed, that was the intention, and there were articles written about Riri Williams being the next Iron Man, but it's not about passing the mantle. What does this nitwit think he's saying here? She was Iron Man in the books that we talked about earlier. They explicitly say that in the comic itself. Those producers are talking about the MCU version of the character, and how she's not replacing Tony, but carrying on the legacy.
So, as you can see here, we now have arrived to the shitting on my plate and saying that it's pizza, and actively lying to my face and telling me I don't know what I'm talking about, despite you knowing exactly what I'm talking about. Trying to attempt to contradict the person that you're criticizing does not remove the original criticism, which is, this show is going to suck. Instead, this video is effectively a preface attempting to say, even before preamble happens, as preamble of, these people are lying and you shouldn't trust them. Which one? Which one? You rubbed it together, and then you told me it was Granny's peach tea. Unacceptable by any requirement. Yeah, it do be that rules for thee, isn't it, Fatal? Yeah, it do be that. Oh well. The show was still dog shit. We'll get to that in a moment.
Being a legacy character. You know, Gary, that term you don't understand being the poser you are. And Coogler, you're an executive producer. Now I understand the connection to Wakanda Forever, but you couldn't have Marvel add Creed, Sinners, or I don't know, the first Black Panther? You say you understand the connection to Wakanda Forever, but you don't seem to actually understand the connection to Wakanda Forever. Ryan directed a movie that is already a part of this universe. It was incredibly well received, and it starred this character. Why would it make more sense for them to advertise movies that are not their own property, especially rated R movies? Are you forgetting this is Disney? They only recently allowed rated R movies on their streaming service. Like, I know thinking causes the last 3 brain cells you have to heat up, but come on, son. Maybe spend less time coming up with racist thumbnails and more time on your craft. Anyway, we finally learned something about the character.
I heard Riri Williams was a genius. Riri, I see you. I see you fed up, waiting to be acknowledged for your greatness.
And right off the bat, we get the staples of modern intersectional feminist Hollywood writing. We are told she is great through constant affirmations from other characters, but never shown. What an incredible load of shit. First of all, we were shown that she is a genius. That was in Wakanda Forever. You know, those words that popped up on the screen that you didn't seem to understand. This is why they didn't use Sinners dipshit. This isn't the introduction to the character. Exactly like in the comics, Riri was introduced in something else, and then later got her own series. I don't think anyone who hasn't already seen Wakanda Forever will be watching the series without that context.
I'm here about the vibranium detector that you built for the CIA. And I built no detector for no CIA. I made that for my metallurgy class. The school project. The professor said I'd never be able to do it. To be ungifted and black now, right? It is...
That right there, that source, that quote, that literally came from the book in which she came from. The one that was her writing from Ewing. And from that writing, that is the backbone upon which that character was founded on. So, Birdman, when you say there's no way they could know what's going to happen, this is why people are saying that you're lying to their face. And yes, this is while they're crafting the version that effectively is being cobbled together for the MCU's variation. Or variant, as they have clearly defined for multiversal characters. You can't say media grifters aren't intelligent. And at the same time, run fucking interference for the media that is bad, that has people criticizing it. I would love to hear the things you have to say about Starfleet Academy, but I bet he doesn't have any.
Design for the machine is on the laptop. Yeah. And you just leave it on a desk in a car garage. I got 2065 byte encryption on the thing. Ever locked yourself out? Took me the whole semester to get back in. I had to build a functional quantum computer just to crack my own encryption. How old were you when you built your first machine? 3? Our stepdad was a car mechanic. He wanted to build airplanes, but he gave me these tools and let me just work it out.
We were never shown she was a genius, huh?
And she's being kept down by the patriarchy, or the system, or both.
Well, you see, the problem here is that they wanted a origin story before backdoor porting the actress into the MCU. If Ironheart came before Wakanda Forever, you would then be able to have an emotional weight that allows people to grip themselves with why this character is important. So, in the example of the Marvels, that is what they did with Miss Marvel. Yes, it came from the exact same comic book origin story with the guy who was constantly putting propaganda into the background shots of the comic book to promote a form of Islamist Muslim fundamentalism. But the various examples of Kamala Khan that they used for the MCU before then bringing her to the Marvels is literally what people preferred. The version that they did with Ironheart quintessentially was wrong. The version that they made using Ironheart is quintessentially the wrong way to make the fucking product. I wouldn't say they made Miss Marvel into Green Lantern. By what you mean her having light projection powers? That has more to do with something else entirely. I wouldn't say that that's inherently Green Lantern, because it's like the Force construct, or rather hard light construct abilities. That was them trying to find an explanation so they didn't have to use the stretchy powers. Because they specifically wanted Mr. Fantastic to be the one that has stretchy powers. So I get what you're saying, Fatal, but it's a little bit inaccurate. However, back to my point. Ms. Marvel and how she was introduced to the MCU is the way that you should be introducing characters. Origin story first, bringing him into other content second. Because if you do it backwards, when you choose to backdoor port them, and then you basically try to recreate a in medias res origin story for people to finally get to get context and development for the character, you have done a poor job. But Carl, wouldn't that mean that Agatha all along is doing the character wrong? Yes, it is. And that's why a lot of people hated it. Because they did the fucking grandmother of, and also the caretaker of, people like Franklin Richards fucking dirty. Dirty. All to soothe the bad writing that happened in WandaVision to justify the creation of her characters from what effectively is an alternate timeline. Backdoor importing Agatha Harkness as somebody trying to steal Wanda's powers. Backporting the idea and a reboot for the character of the Vision, because you need to bring Paul Bettany back in as a version of Vision in the future, even if it's White Vision. Backporting in a justification for characters that were basically sidelined from other projects, such as Thor for Kat Dennings, and Ant-Man for the Asian guy. I think his name is John Woo. All of these things are a quintessential bad thing to have done. Does it mean that you have to make a good fucking situation out of bad fucking writing? Yes, it does. But quintessentially, if we're being serious, we would rather get the origin story first and then get future development second. Not backdoor porting. Because what ends up happening is you end up confusing people and pissing them off. Because why is this character important? From the viewpoint of people watching the MCU films, when they went from whatever the film that came before the Marvels was to the Marvels, I can promise you, the people who did not watch Disney Plus did not know who Spectrum was and did not know who Kamala Khan was. And literally, the story of Miss Marvel is written in such a way from Disney Plus that by watching the show, yes, T'Challa in Civil War is a backdoor. Yes, 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 yes. But you see, they preferred that version because they thought that that version made him cool. You see, they pick and they choose. They pick and they choose. They pick and they choose. And it's literally based on the rule of cool. Hoodweebs! It's hoodweeb logic! R farming! No context! By choosing to write it the way that they did, by watching Miss Marvel, it then explains what then happens in the Marvels. Unfortunately, in the world that they live in, this makes sense to their brain. And it's wild that they did, and that they do, and that it does. And, to bring up and address the thing you just mentioned, bringing up T'Chaka and T'Challa in Civil War to bring in the character that way, yes, that was actually a backdoor introduction, which was bad. Why? Because it made Black Panther and Wakanda Forever. The choice to write that film and to create those characters and to present that character in his culture that way and establish those rules. For every scene with people like M'Baku the Man-Ape, as portrayed by Winston Duke, trash! Certainly, Winston Duke is the best thing to come out of the Black Panther product, because his character is that good. However, for every character like his, every other fucking person was dog shit. And then, of course, bringing in people like Michael B. Jordan to play basically a terrorist that is only getting rule of cooled in because there are people that like that character and they don't like the character for reasons that have something to do with his characterization. They like him because they love that he's basically a stand-in for the kind of cultural worldview that they believe that they have, which says a lot more about the people who agree with that viewpoint and say that that's the correct way to move forward in the world than the people who are just watching it to say, I like the TV, I like the movie, and that it is what it is. It's all relative. It's all relative, basically. In many people's cases, it's the case of, we've done something wrong that is quintessentially making content that ultimately is bad. But in the viewpoint of the Birdman, if you have a criticism of it, your criticism makes you a racist and a bigot that must hate women and minorities. But in his viewpoint, and in the viewpoint of people who watch the content, they can choose to like it for whatever reason, and that's okay. And they're not called bigots and racists. Even though some of the people who love Wakanda, Wakanda Forever, and Black Panther are literally just isolationists that love black everything. Or Ryan Coogler, in general, because he himself is black and agrees with their worldview. It's like saying that you like the Boondocks and Aaron Magruder, not because you love the work that he put together and that it's quintessentially art that defines black culture, if not culture in general, and the lens and viewpoint of the modern left satirist, but specifically because it validates your worldview and you use it as a frame of reference in which to criticize everything else.
And what part of this trailer showed anything about the patriarchy or the system holding her down? Just like the shitical stinker, you randomly bring up political talking points that weren't even implied. The only reason you brought those two things up are because you are a racist and a misogynist, which is even...
Except that in the story, literally the government, which represents the man, are the people holding her back. And everybody else, including Obadiah's son, are the people who help her get her power back by giving her resources to even do the thing in question. So it's like, you're lying to them, and then you're treating them like they're retarded, and that's just crazy, bro.
Even more pathetic because you're talking about a series aimed at young women. Dude, you are 55 years old. When the fuck are you going to grow up? And she deserves her acknowledgement, despite the fact that she's already going to MIT.
You are not the first genius at MIT.
And I'm glad they told us she was a genius again. And she just recently got back from an internship abroad at the isolationist ethno-state of Wakanda. Wakanda isn't isolationist. Their policy was changed in the first Black Panther.
They were isolationists, but they still continue to not be as open as they could be, which is going to be held against them. As much as you might not like him saying it, you're going to have to cope about it. And you are. But you're going to have to cope harder. A lot harder. I believe even by niggas. Wow.
Panther movie. That was like literally the plot. And I love the mention of them being an ethno-state. Gary and his handler Will Jordan have this weird hatred of Wakanda, mainly because it's a positive representation of black people, and they really...
Now he says handler. They have a hatred of black people, and that's the reason why they say the things they say. Not because they have an opinion and they're expressing that opinion. Cope?
We hate those. But Wakanda is a country in Africa that closed itself off from the world for centuries, meaning they never got colonized. Of course they would be an ethno-state. He only has a problem with this because they're black and prosperous. Japan is also an ethno-state. Do you ever hear these motherfuckers complain about that?
So, real world nation, fake nation. World that has projected views that come from radical leftists that believe that that's the way that the world should be. People who are clearly trying to communicate something that goes over the head or is not in the interest of the Birdman to talk about. This nation, that nation!
Nope. How come you're not working at one of those fancy tech firms?
After my internship abroad, I want to build something undeniable. Something iconic.
Maybe it's opposite day. If by iconic you mean making something unrecognizable and forgettable, sure. Like CinemaSins, this idiot is talking to the characters like they can hear him. But isn't it interesting that he's calling her suit?
But he's not. He's criticizing that to make something iconic, what she should do is copy something that's already been done. Certainly the argument here is that the iconic thing that would happen is if she's able to make Iron Man tech without an arc reactor, since clearly the suit would require a power source capable of doing this, and that's one of the reasons why they wanted to try and claim her work for MIT. They get to keep the proprietary material put together by this person who is now being evicted because of issues that come up with her and her drama, and therefore that becomes the iconic part. She did succeed in doing something iconic. She was able to combine magic and science together to power a technological suit to make Magitech. Congratulations! But it comes at the consequence that in attempting to be iconic, she actually brought about the involvement with Mephisto. And so anything that happens from there, you have to be willing to admit there was consequences. And those actions in fact, had those consequences. Otherwise, we're coping and receiving. And that's okay.
Unrecognizable and forgettable, while also claiming she's stealing from Iron Man. Unless, of course, he's talking about the show itself, which also doesn't make any sense because the show isn't even out yet. I explained in an earlier video that what these people like to do is attempt to plant seeds before a media property comes out and hope to harvest the fruits of outrage when it does.
Well, see, everybody talks about this. Even I talk about this. It's called future prognostication. You make a take, you claim it's going to be one thing. You know, the Mark Kern Grums classic of You're Welcome Gamers. You make a take, you claim something's going to happen. When it doesn't happen the way that you claimed it would, you say, actually, this proves that it did happen the way that I had it. You're welcome, gamers. Yes, everybody hates that. But that's not necessarily something that he's trying to do. What he's actually doing is he's doing the same thing you were doing. Which is, you're trying to make content that would follow the algorithm leading up to the show's release, so that your video possibly gets more views and more hits. Otherwise, why don't you have content on your channel that has nothing to do with media criticism and just put out things that you want to talk about? Oh, wait. You choose to do that in the terms of the shit that you choose to criticize, but not necessarily everything else. Why put your media shit that has to do with exposing the grifters on this channel? Why not put it on its own channel? Because you want to use your particular media fame and your channel growth and your channel size to make people watch those views so that they can be seen by a wider audience. Guess what? Some people have criticisms that use the exact same format. So really, you're blaming him for being a good businessman who understands how to put his content out there. Rules for thee, not for me, I guess.
That's why they make video after video shitting on a property before it even releases, and then try to claim they were right. Gary here likes to copy basically everything Will Jordan says, which is why they both lied to you about Thunderbolts, because they both assumed their audience would fall for the grift that time.
He does not, in fact, just copy his friend. They all watch content, and then they have their own opinions about that content. That's like saying that I copy Jay whenever she and I cover the same show. That's one of those things that people use as actual justifications to claim that somebody isn't worthy of watching. Which is why you have so many people that could have opinions about nothing. Just spend most of their time yapping about nothing. But it's different.
Time.
Oh, come on. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy, huh? Who's a good boy?
Me.
Oh, who's a good boy?
I am. I'm a good boy.
But at least they found something new because this black female genius in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is totally different from the other black female genius in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Shuri. Right? It's almost like Marvel has a genius problem. You know, like the white male genius Hank Pym, or the other white male genius Tony Stark, or the other white male genius Doctor Strange.
Look, we have black diverse geniuses. Well, we had other white male geniuses, so it means that it's actually fine. Projection. Pure and simple.
Or the other white male genius Bruce Banner, or the other white male genius Mr. Fantastic, or the other white male genius Peter Parker, or the other white male genius Howard Stark, or the other white... Anywho, the rest of the trailer is a bunch of gobbledygook.
Or maybe, you know, in this case, it wasn't money and Jews, it was Italians and Jews. Because guess who wrote those characters? White men! Who also wrote the diverse characters? White men? It's like a Stone Cops comic! Oh, fuck me. Oh, fuck me in the ass. Running. Fuck me running. In there. You know, lest we blame the real devil group, Jewish Italians. Oh, fuck me. Oh, the memes never end. The memes never end. They never end.
Gook featuring that awful costume and the villain, the Hood, who is from the comics, who's had some connections to Dormammu. Wait a minute. Who the hell is Dormammu? You mean Dormammu?
Here he goes again with the, you're pronouncing the character name wrong. You know that he's talking about Dormammu. This is just annoying. It's always been annoying. Most people consider this to be annoying.
If this entire video hasn't yet convinced you that this guy is a poser, this has to seal the deal. I mean...
I pronounced the character's name wrong. Therefore, he's a poser. You shouldn't listen to him, because he pronounced the name Dormammu wrong. Once, in the purpose of making a bigger point. This giant point? Ignore it! He said the name wrong! Poser! 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 Poser!
It's not like the MCU hasn't already featured the character and specifically had a sequence where that character's name was said over and over aloud or anything.
Dormammu, I come to bargain.
This is what we call self-glazing. Actual self-glazing.
Dormammu, I come to bargain. Dormammu, I come to bargain. Dormammu, I come to bargain. Dormammu, Dormammu, Dormammu.
But the rumor is, in this, he'll be connected to Mephisto, which is too stupid to be true to waste a great villain like Mephisto in a show like this, but
Watch this next bit. This bit is very important.
considering this comes from the same company who decided to lead with the female Silver Surfer in the Fantastic Four, it makes it believable.
Okay, two things. One, there's no way in hell the MCU is debuting Mephisto in this show, and I don't know why you think they're even teasing that. So just like the cynical grifter, your grasp on marketing material is complete and utter dog shit.
I revealed this on Jay's stream, where in fact, they did in fact tease Mephisto, and they did in fact reveal that Mephisto is invited in this show. This, even at the time that I called it, because I was the one that called in that stream, you are wrong! You are wrong. Wrong. Sacha Baron Cohen is in fact Mephisto. Wrong. 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 Wrong.
And two, you odious bird-brained idiots continue to misunderstand that First Steps is set in a different universe, and that they will be coming over to the main MCU timeline in their film, which is why there is a female Silver Surfer.
Pause. Yes, variants exist. People wanted to see Norrin Rad. They wanted to see the original Silver Surfer. They put the original Silver Surfer in the first Fantastic, or excuse me, the second Fantastic Four film in the timeline that used the Eon Cole guy, the first Mr. Fantastic. However, this gender swapping shit is emblematic of an industry desire to effectively, well, as the meme goes, put a chicken in and make her gay! Although in the case of what they chose to do for Shala Bal, they instead put a chick in it and made her somebody who literally chose to betray people and sacrifice her planet because working with Galactus meant that her people were preserved. Much when you really think about it, if you have watched the film, because it was a film that we watched Wednesday this week as a part of the movie night, that's actually not bad of a character. Because, you see, if I have to disambiguate and disagree with Nerdrotic myself, Shala Bal's character in First Steps is actually just a good character. She is a legitimate threat. She is an empathetic character in the fact that you can be able to understand why she would make her decisions, and how that helps with a Johnny that isn't just a Lothario, but is actually just as intelligent as Mr. Fantastic, as is Sue, as is, I'm forgetting his name, the Thing. Ben. All of those characters, and the arguments that they make, and the presentation of their additions to the story, made her character solid. A legitimate threat that was well written, that worked with the plot to show that when they were able to come up with a solution to solve the situation, demonstrated that it was very important for Johnny to be able to make that connection with the language, and thus be able to make the film whole and complete. Because she chooses to sacrifice herself where Johnny would have sacrificed himself, something very similar to his death in the negative zone, or the Alder Zone, where he basically dies as a part of the Future Foundation argumentation and timeline, when Valeria is a character in the comics, where Doom is basically the godfather to the child, to instead allowing her to be sacrificed so that those characters could then eventually cross over into the main, now 616 timeline. Yes, they are variants. Yes, those Fantastic Four members and the Silver Surfer, and I guess you could even make the argument of Galactus, are variants. However, that variant is good. She is written good. And that's why people would accept it. They don't just reject her outright because she's a woman. If that's the argument they make without actually consuming the content, or with consuming the content and knowing that to be the case, guess what I hate to do? I get to say they're retarded, and I throw their opinion out, because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. The problem, Birdman, that everybody has is, does it work in its own story? Does it have ontological inertia? Does it work in its own story? Where are the 616 Fantastic Four? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. We'll find out when it's incursion time in Secret Wars. But people want the work to work. They want the work to work. That's it. They want the work to work. The simple problem with this attitude is that people want the work to work. And you just disagree because you think they're not actual real people. And in your need to try and constantly look to pound people, Kappa, to look to pound people on how they choose to understand the concepts, how they understand how people get introduced, how characters get fleshed out, you decide that everybody's wrong and or they're a grifter. When in reality, you just disagree with these particular people, and you have the same poisoning worldview as people as irrelevant when it comes to things like video games. You think that it's all money and Jews, or you think that the average viewpoint of a regular consumer is an Asmongold fan. Or in this case, the average viewer of Nerdrotic and Will Jordan is a hateful, racist bigot who's being misled by a not good enough fan. And you, the true fan, have to come by and correct us on how we're wrong. But you do so in the most pedantic and the most fucking top-down, browbeating way possible, which makes people say, yeah, you might be right, but fuck you, I don't like the way that you act and behave. And then what's next? So really, the problem here is that you could be correct about everything till the cows come home. You're not! And you won't accept that! But pulling back from the wind-up of that fucking sucker punch, the ultimate problem is that you choose to communicate this information in such a I need to correct them way that you yourself add to the very culture of media grifting that you want to criticize everybody else for. And so the problem that ends up happening is that my point, it's not effective. You can have the criticisms of the Critical Drinker and of Nerdrotic and of Geeks and Gamers and Friday Night Tights and the Fandom Menace and any content creator anywhere. But is it effective? Are you effectively communicating your opinions? Are you effectively communicating your points? Are you effectively communicating in a way where people are able to at least come to the table and understand where you're coming from, while also taking in other information in the future, and then coming to their own opinions in the future, and about who they choose to listen and get their opinions and their views from? It reminds me of the What is Art from last night. Pretty much. Yes, pretty much. Because at this point, you're just picking and choosing who must be right and who must be wrong, based on all of the ways that people choose to communicate about the material. And unfortunately, when you get to that point, you're putting words in people's mouths. Even more than you can claim that the grifters love doing that when it comes to things like articles. Extrapolating the information and being able to present it to people is a part of the job. And unfortunately, the job that the Birdman wants to do is not actually doing that. He's just complaining about people that he thinks aren't doing the job well. So instead of doing the job better than those people, and thus becoming the better content creator, he would rather whine about people and antagonize people, and then brag about getting attention from the fact that people are noticing that he's antagonizing them. And it's all in the name of getting clicks on his channel. At that point, it's who grifts the grifters, basically. Moving forward.
I mean, they literally spoiled that in the after-credit scene of Thunderbolts. You dingbats want them to have the male Silver Surfer in a universe that they are leaving and will likely be destroyed in Secret Wars. I might have been a little generous assuming you have 3 brain cells. Oh, and just in case you didn't notice, it has hip-hop music in it because this is a show about black people. And you know that decision came from a boardroom full of woke white people with non-binary kids who don't live anywhere near black people. What part of this show is being executive produced by Ryan Coogler? Are you not getting, you human pack of baloney? You know
Therefore, a show is being produced by a black man, therefore it must have black rap music everywhere in the content and plot. What are you, a racist bigot? You think black people can't be able to make shows the way that they want?
You know, the guy that had people crip walking in a period piece set in 1930s Mississippi. And newsflash, black people kind of like hip-hop. Well, real black people, not the trash pandas that you know.
And then just antagonizing people for no fucking reason whatsoever, including Eric July. in a period piece film that basically works as a comparison to any work put out by a famed foot fetishist, you want us to basically say, okay, that's fine. Guess what? Sinners isn't in the MCU. Even if you wanted to take the argument and you wanted to present it, is it effective? If it's effective, then whatever. If it's not effective, maybe we should criticize what we chose to do and think if that should be written better in the future. I think the trope of constantly putting hip-hop and 808s into everything just because there's black people is a lazy excuse to not try to do better. So why don't you stop stealing my dragon energy as you attempt to tell me that we're not black or anyone else is not black? Because this was the part that was really fucking annoying. It was one of the parts that were really fucking annoying when I was watching it back on the live with Jay. It's kind of like Pillboy's video, which we also reviewed together ourselves, but I also reviewed earlier before her, myself alone. These people are bad because you don't like them, therefore they're coons. They're jesters. They're fools and knights that exist to antagonize people and serve for a purpose for whatever the fuck you decided. Dumb. Retarded. Retarded, dumb. Dumb and retarded. I would really like that argument to stop, but, you know, you're going to likely get them to stop any more than you can be able to stop him from trying to find frames in which to make people look bad. Because this frame of Eric July, how dare you? The one that you have of Magnus and this other guy is much better than this. But, you know, we're trying to get as many clicks as possible. If you become a media grifter back and you become the worst of the media grifters who respond to people like the reply guy, that obviously means that you must have the best opinions and that you're always right, right? That's the culture! That's the culture!
What I'm saying is, this is a show made by black people, starring a black character invented by black people, and executive produced by a black person. I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume all the black people involved with this project were okay with the hip-hop in the trailer, my nigga. So what did we learn about the iconic...
Even then, it's a tired meme, and many people would probably like to see you do something different.
Genius and insanely popular comic book character, Riri Williams Ironheart. Unfortunately for Marvel Studios, this may be the most comic book accurate depiction of a character since Iron Man, because it turns out she's an ungrateful, insecure narcissist who craves acknowledgement, and an unlikable brat who aspires to be undeniable and iconic. So because a young black woman aspires to create something iconic, she's a brat, ungrateful, narcissistic, insecure, and unlikable. Guys, I don't know how many ways I can...
Riri Williams is a villain in her own series. There is no denying that. She is a villain in her own series. It is one of the most aggressive things about her particular creation that is, like, caustic to her creativity. Oh, she wants to create something iconic? That means that she is automatically bad? This is a man who clearly thinks that black people can't achieve things. She chooses to fuck over everyone and anyone in the pursuit of getting what she wants. To the point that it makes the Obadiah Stane son become a villain. To the point that in trying to get what she wants, she almost loses the Natalie sim entirely forever, until she makes her deal with Mephisto, and then effectively is able to bring her back to life through magic in a deal that is now corrupting her soul. The same way it corrupted the Hood's soul. She is negatively thinking everything is stacked against her in a way where she believes she must be inherently bad, to the point that her will they, won't they, black male friend, who clearly wants to dig her out in the Donies, literally thinks the thing that she's doing with the Natalie sim, because that is his sister, is perversion of her memory. Something that she actively lies to his face about, and withholds from him. But through the power of black women being strong, and a mother figure making a black man be willing to help a black woman in need, it's all swept under the fucking rug. Nigga.
explain to you that this man is a hateful bigot? I'm literally telling you that. I have no idea why YouTube continues to allow people like this to exist on the platform when they spread dangerous rhetoric like this from innocuous trailers for a comic book character.
Boing Flip, why do they allow you to be on the platform? Because they are a publisher. If they pick sides and decide that he needs to be deplatformed because you think he's racist, they should do the same thing to you. Because you produce the exact same level of content. Shot! There are so many hateful people on Twitter, on Twitch, on Kick, that produce content that definitely shouldn't be consumed and watched. But it's better for the content to exist so that we may be able to expose it. Because sunlight is the best disinfectant. This joke makes more sense if I get the flashlight like my woman got for me. 1 second. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Freeze, nigga! I apologize for your eyes, but this is good for the visual gag. Freeze, nigga! Show me where the woke is! Tell me where the woke is! I know you have woke in your house. I can smell the high guard on you. Come out! Come out with your pandering up! What digging in the boonies? Nigga fucking home. Alright, moving forward. Dangerous rhetoric, and it's just mild criticism of cape shit. True, Jack. Same thing in every case. Dangerous rhetoric, but it's just rejecting the Kathleen Kennedy vision of Star Wars. Dangerous rhetoric, but it's making fun of things like Star Trek, Starfleet Academy, and all of the Kurtzman era Star Trek. Dangerous rhetoric, and it's not wanting to constantly consume goy slop for the game industry. It's just dangerous rhetoric, you see. There's not a point or an argument to it. We won't look into it and find out if there is. No. I'm going to say that they're media grifters and that they're lying and that it's bad. And it's just racism and bigotry. Racism and bigotry, money and Jews, Jews and Italians, cats and dogs.
I can completely understand if you have no interest in this show, but Gary has somehow made this a conversation about race and a host of negative attributes because the main character is a black woman.
The show itself was inherently about the nature of race and how a black woman would never be given the same level of respect as a white man like Iron Man. And that in order for her to get what she needs, she has to do something that requires criminal intent. Which is literally the source and point of why she works with the Red Hood. Because the Red Hood offers her money so he can monetize her content. He brings people into his operations so that he can take advantage of their skills. And then he murders them if they no longer are useful. Like he murdered the character for Eric Andre.
This is nonsense. And while I won't say he shouldn't be able to give his trash-ass opinions, he damn sure shouldn't be making money from them on a platform that pretends to be progressive.
Therefore, he shouldn't be allowed to give his opinions. And he shouldn't be allowed to monetize it. Because you said so. You shouldn't be allowed to monetize your opinions because of how you choose to attack people and how you believe that you should have the right to take people's content away. Solves itself. If you don't believe in free speech, you don't get to have it. You like that? No? Shut your mouth.
This is a Rumble video if I've ever seen one. And what has Marvel learned? Clearly, absolutely nothing. Like we said at the time, right after that big win with Deadpool and Wolverine, Marvel went right back to the regular scheduled programming. They followed that up with Agatha, Captain America Brave.
We're going to address that real quick.
This is a Rumble video if I've ever seen one.
But he's not deplatformed from YouTube already. Now is he? He's not deplatformed from Twitch, even though they don't use it for things like Friday Night Titans. Now is he? No, actually. He's on some of the most popular platforms on the ClearNet. You know who is on Rumble? You know who does have to use alternative media sites? Many of them are truly alternative media, but Rumble and Odyssey are one of those places where the people who have been banned off of those platforms go to when they've basically exhausted all their opportunities, when they've already gone to places like DLive and the Federated Internet. You know who does have to do that? People who are part of the left-wing and the right-wing diatribe. Does he sound like an alt-righter to you? Does he sound like a Keynesian model Nick Fuentes Graper to you? Is he baked Alaska? No, he isn't. So when you frame him as some kind of bigot monster that clearly wouldn't be popular, explain his popularity! The reason why he's popular is because of low information consumers and bigotry. So all of his fans are bigots? Everybody who could listen to him and could appeal with him are bigots? Or is it possible that the way he communicates his interest about content is more effective than yours? Is it the case that also, with the Critical Drinker, the way he communicates and is evocative of his opinion and of his material content is more effective than yours? Remove yourself from the argument of legality. Are they more effective than you? Yes, they are. So, you think they should be deplatformed because they are literally, quote, alt-right Nazis that shouldn't exist on the ClearNet. Is he Synthetic Man levels of politically rotted? Yes. Yes. The worst parts of Synthetic Man, and the worst parts of Anthony Gramuccia, and the worst parts of the Act Man. But it's a nigga! It's like he's the big brother of just some guy who is also a black liberal.
And what has Marvel learned? Clearly, absolutely nothing. Like we said at the time, right after that big win with Deadpool and Wolverine, Marvel went right back to the regular scheduled programming. They followed that up with Agatha, Captain America Brave New World, Daredevil Born Again, and Thunderbolts. This tired idea that the MCU is dead only makes sense when you start making arbitrary distinctions, like the weird people that try to say Guardians 3 and Deadpool and Wolverine don't count for reasons. Agatha, Brave New World, Born Again, and Thunderbolts were all well received by the audience. Like, each...
No, they weren't. You use Rotten Tomatoes, which is a site that was obviously contaminated. They were received well by fag hags, which is to say, they were received well by the queer audience and queered political understanders in those audiences and those demographics. Therefore, that modern audience accepting the content slop is proof of how it should continue to happen, instead of improving the quality overall. This is facetious. Just because I functionally make a pie that is made out of liver and human tongue doesn't mean I should also try to make a pie that's made out of actual Granny Smith apples and caramel.
screen don't count for reasons. Agatha, Brave New World, Born Again, and Thunderbolts were all well received by the audience. Like, each one of those. MCU hatred is a popular talking point on the internet, but it isn't reflected by the actual movie going public. And miss me with whining about Rotten Tomatoes, parrots. Gary...
Television shows aren't movies. Many of these television shows are critically panned. Are you going to make the argument and you're going to tell me that She-Hulk was actually well received? Because it wasn't. Just like Ironheart wasn't.
Gary himself uses this as a metric, so I don't want to hear it. Anyway, there's nothing else here.
He uses Rotten Tomatoes as a metric. Therefore, I should use Rotten Tomatoes as a metric. Using Rotten Tomatoes as the metric when it's clearly known as a grifted purchase site is why he uses it. Unfortunately, once again, I can disagree with the both of you and say, actually, you shouldn't be using Rotten Tomatoes at all, because we know that it's been ideologically paid off by people like Disney in order to manipulate people's opinions in order to get them to watch the content based on the views that are being put on the site. Watching the material with your own opinion would reveal to you the reasons why things like Attica All Along might suck. Can you be a fan of Catherine Hahn's performance and that other woman's performance in the show? Carl, why are you doing this when you could be playing the new Minecraft DLC? I don't want to play a terrorism encouragement sim. Or rather, a terrorism encouragement and training playground. Because I can't even run Minecraft. My computer won't let me. And I'm already doing my job by starting good trouble. Anyways, back to my point. Using your own fucking brain and observing the content, you would find out that those shows and those movies are not good. There are parts of them that are good, but the entire work collectively itself is not truly quintessential art. They need to do their job and recognize that they need to make it better, so that it can be.
As per usual, this 26 IQ dunce is only here to spread ignorance to those with lower IQs than even his. Posers like Nerdrotic and Eric July particularly annoy me because people give these numbskulls the benefit of the doubt because of the performance art they display.
Except for the fact that Eric does, in fact, what his money where his mouth is, and he is what he is. As is Nerdrotic, and Jeremy, and the Critical Drinker. But you don't think they're real fans. And so, because they don't meet your barometer standard, you reject it wholesale.
People assume that just because this man has toys in his background, that he knows anything about these characters, when it's clear to me that his knowledge is very surface level, and that he's using this feigned authority to grift. This man is not a comic book fan. He doesn't even know what a legacy character is. Real comic book fans celebrate new characters because it gives us more stories to read, which is what we're in this hobby for, and we only ever dislike writers, not the characters themselves. Nerdrotic hates the character, and that's why he's not like us.
Kendrick, open his mouth. Give that nigga a Grammy real quick. Now, his follow-up. After Ironheart had been released. Prepare your lines, niggas.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that was enough. What the fuck?
676767. Kappa. The image in question. Riri Williams is not Iron Man. Ironheart, Season 1, Episode 1 to 3 were a boring mess. Let's see what he's about to do. Let's see his opinion. Hello, Alex. Let's see what he's about to say about the show.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that was enough. What the fuck are we doing? A media property releases and a tornado of losers rush to release videos on it, hoping to grab hate clicks and grift views. Of course.
How dare people use the trends in order to get attention and talk about current events? I'm sorry. You don't get to do that. You know why? That's the first cough. That's the second cough. People like Straw Hat Goofy People like Nathan Hurst, those creators on TikTok, and all the people who steal content from people like myself, third golf. Those people are the reason why that happens. Your problem isn't with hatred fans. Your problem is with how the marketplace currently rewards attention-seeking content. Stop blaming people who aren't responsible for the way media currently functions. And hold yourself accountable and be different. Fuck! I need cough drops.
The usual shitbirds like Heel versus Babyface and The Critical Drinker have already uploaded their takes, and we'll get to them in a moment. But even relative unknowns are able to grow a following by posting grift content hating on black-led media properties it feels they didn't even watch or understand. Some, like this dog food eating scumbag, played their hand a little too early by starting the lie before the show was even released, so you know this hate campaign is entirely manufactured.
Except you're talking about John Delarose. None of us like him. 8. 9. You can hate him all day long. He is, in fact, a media grifter. You should be attacking him. But instead, you spend your time attacking people like the Phantom Menace. 10.
I mean, this guy had less than 1,000 followers 2 days ago, and despite getting ratioed by the people watching, and by yours truly, he was still able to garner followers for hating something.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens. Fuck. That's what happens. It sucks, doesn't it? It sucks, doesn't it? People like you made this the course. Lie in it. And yes, is that punching down? Yes, it is. He doesn't care. That was your choice. This is the bed you made. Now lie in it with the fleas and worms.
That's what Shohei Kondo did. His channel was relatively quiet until he began shit-talking a video game that featured a black protagonist, and boom, 400,000 view video here, 300,000.
Was it because he was shit-talking the black character? Or was it because of the controversy around the origin and the desire to even make Assassin's Creed Shadows? No. Racism and bigotry. Every time.
1,000 view video there, and that taught him to make video after video on that game, hoping to milk the situation as much as he could, resulting in 26 videos on the same topic. And the crazy part is, none of these people's criticisms even make sense. I've shown countless times that simple research and fact-checking is enough to blow up their entire video. And that's what...
Except you're not blowing up their entire video and thus their entire point. You're being pedantic as fuck and demonstrating the reason why most people hate braggadocious know-it-alls. Again, is your argument effective? Or are you just being an asshole for fun? You're being an asshole for fun. You're not changing people's minds. You're pushing them in the direction of listening to the people you think are the problem, who might literally legitimately be the problem. Intelligent people with brains of their own will be able to tell the difference. But you literally push them into their arms. You are the people on the side of the liberals that are pushing down the undecided person. And when they help them up, you're saying, what, you're siding with them? Yes! 'Cause you're a dick!
we're going to do today. Rebut a couple of these grifters lying about Ironheart simply to trick you into clicking their video.
Oh, you're not going to actually address any of the content in the show? Like the part where you were wrong about how the actual show would be developed? And that people couldn't have known because you don't even know what's going to be in the show, even though it was shown in the trailer. It's not out yet. How convenient.
So let's start with this lunatic from Twitter.
What in the hell is this? I just got done watching the first 3 episodes for Ironheart, and wow!
As has been made clear by the weak attempt at going viral for a short attention span audience, this is a low-effort TikTok that he uploaded to Twitter. As you can see, the point is to be as inflammatory as possible by being a clown for children. I mean, I can't imagine an adult...
Yes. Attention economy. What do you think happens when you decide that anybody's opinion can be considered as good as someone else's? You have thousands of people rushing in to be fools because it gets clicks and attention. Created by people like the Black Hokage. Created by people like you. Created by people like the Act Man. Created by people like Straw Hat Goofy. Created by people like all of the game journalists on their own platforms. Even when they are also doing it on somebody's major publication platform. Either in script, in video, or in writing. The same as every other meteor grifter on the left wing and the right wing. The same as people like the Mighty Keith. The same as the Cole posting accounts that use the gimmick of being about culture war topics as a justification and as an excuse to inflame the culture war, but benefit from it because of monetization. This is the bed people like you made. This is the bed people like you made. Unfortunately, the creators that you're trying to criticize that are supposedly just bigots all the way down, they actually spend the time watching the show. And so they have the best arguments. But you're not going to use those people. You're going to use the people that are stupid and are dumb as a justification for, you see, this is, I already did these people, so let's show you the lower tier ones. What is nigga talking about? He ain't talking about nothing. Turn his TV off.
Audience seeing this and taking this person seriously.
I'm gonna start with the only positive about this show. It's the fact that Riri Williams doesn't have a nanotech suit. We're back to the good old days. But other than that, this show is crap.
This is a typical lie of those that try to shit on the MCU. They use people's vague memories of the helmets and masks in the MCU to say the entire costume is made out of nanotech, and that is obviously not true. War Machine has been using a tactile suit since the second Iron Man. His suit's last couple appearances in in-game clearly show that not even his helmet was nanotech, so this is demonstrably a lie. Pepper's suit was shown to be tactile as well. There are less nanotechnology suits in the MCU than there are non-nanotech suits, and mainly, the criticism is centered around the helmets themselves.
And I don't buy that Riri Williams is actually this smart girl. She doesn't act smart. Everything she does is dumb.
Would you like to substantiate that position? Where is the evidence that everything she does is dumb? This is how you know this person is attempting to grift. They make blanket claims without supporting them with anything, and that's because the point isn't to actually review this property seriously, but to get people who are already inclined to dislike this property to click the video. I could very easily provide evidence that Riri shows clear intelligence through her actions, such as literally creating a suit out of scraps, and it not only works, but has a functional AI that is capable of autonomous movement.
How about the decision making in the middle of investigation, in the middle of critical critical junctions that demonstrate her broken and flawed moral system? Is that her speaking and acting with intelligence? Or is it that you'll immediately say, well, so you see, that's happening because, you know, there's a problem here, and the problem is that this person has to address these deeper concerns and issues. And, you know, you guys aren't having conversations about that. Why is that?
It would have been 10 times better if Tony Stark was in this and he was her mentor. That would have been way better than what we're getting. Her AI that she has now is nothing but a joke. That AI is just cracking jokes the whole time.
I agree that it would have been cool if the show followed the comics and had Tony Stark be the AI in her suit, but there are obvious contractual issues with this, as Robert Downey Jr. has retired from the role of Tony Stark. However, the AI that we have narratively makes sense for the story, and it seems your actual issue with this is that the AI isn't Tony, not because there's an actual issue with the character. And the reason she's more lighthearted is because the AI is literally based on her best friend. Ask yourself, if you had an AI that was based on your best friend, wouldn't they at least tell the occasional joke? This is a non-criticism. If the AI was Tony Stark, he would literally be joking all the time too, because that is how Tony was characterized.
Hey, Forrest, we can talk, sir. Oh, I see, so it's personal?
No, you intimidate them.
Good God, you're a woman. I want to see this on your MySpace page. Please, no gang signs. No, throw it up, I'm kidding. Hey, Tony, I'm sorry, this is the fun bee. The humdrum Smith here.
I'm in captivity for 3 months. There are 2 things I want to do. I want an American cheeseburger. And the other...
That's enough. What's wrong?
Nothing.
I would say that this is something that was wrong with the characterization of Tony Stark, because this is from where everybody became a quipper. Certainly, this is a mechanical defense and is also a part of his characterization. However, I don't think the thing that you want to do is to pick and choose this. Because this was a lot of the things that people didn't like about the MCU in the beginning. It fit the character of Tony because it was a part of the development of how RDJ brought his characterization to his acting. But, consequentially, they just made this every other fucking character. Everybody shouldn't be Spider-Man cracking jokes all the time. they shouldn't also be constantly browbeating and beating down other people's intelligence. Tony, in quintessential opinions of how he chooses to behave this way, is a fictional one-to-one comparison of an online Redditor, like that of the Birdman. Is it effective? No, it is not. It is not effective. But does that matter? Not to people like him. Argumentatively speaking.
I'm just going to cardiac arrest because you yanked
I thought you said this was safe. There's a lot of nerve showing up here tonight. Can I at least get a reaction from you?
panic. I would say panic.
He looked down the barrel of an alien invasion and called Ebony Maw Squidward. What do you even think you're saying here?
Marvel, what are we doing?
And blatant bigotry. No actual criticism of the character, just hate for the actor. This will be a trend moving forward.
And I see now why they decided to release 3 episodes this week and 3 episodes next week, because nobody wants to sit week to week and wait for this.
I mean, I agree, but for an entirely different reason. I don't want to wait week to week for any goddamn show, and I'm honestly sick of this practice. But this idea that Marvel released this show in the manner that it did because they thought people wouldn't like the show is a common thread amongst grifters. It is also false. Once again, dipshit grifters act as if the SAG after strikes didn't majorly affect the industry. The show's producer clearly states that the strikes affected their release schedule and that they didn't want their content competing with each other. This tracks, as Marvel will have released 3 films this year, and they were spaced out enough to allow each one to have its theatrical run and digital release before the next film released. If this 6-episode show did a week-to-week release, with June 24th being its first day, its 6th episode would have come out days after Fantastic Four's release, something I'm sure Disney wanted to avoid. This is why they released Daredevil's first 2 episodes in March, so its release schedule wouldn't interfere with the upcoming Thunderbolts film in May. But I guess they did that because they weren't confident in that show too, right?
The actress that's playing Ironheart, she's just not good, and she is unbelievable. And the fact that Ironheart actually killed a man at the end of this episode, Iron Man Tony Stark wouldn't approve of that.
First of all, she didn't kill the guy. He was trying to kill her, and she just left him to die. If you want to call leaving your would-be killer to suffocate killing him, I would suggest you're stretching the meaning of those words.
This is the Batman clause, sir. Should it be in her viewpoint that she effectively is responsible for this man's death? Argumentatively, this is one of those, it's going to depend on how you want to view this. Argumentatively, this is a person who's struggling with morality. Do you think it's effective that on the debut of a character that's considered to be what we're considering Riri to be, that you want a black person demonstrating that they're willing to let somebody fucking die? If that's the argument you want to go with, by all means, be my guest. But, I'm going to say that's pretty intellectually lazy, and definitively an example of, nigga, are you crazy? Because effectively what you're saying is black people will leave people to die if they are somebody trying to kill them, and therefore, heroism is about whether or not it's convenient for you to receive it. That's not an argument we want to tell to the inner city children.
You okay? Yeah. Okay, I'll get you out of here.
Okay, I'll get you out of here.
But this idea that Tony fucking Stark wouldn't approve of killing a guy is hilarious. Literally in his first movie, he killed these guys. And these guys. I guess the missile he shot in this tank just tickled those people. But what's even funnier is in Tony's last appearance in the MCU, he quite literally killed Thanos and his entire army with a snap of his fingers. I know they're both intelligent and billionaires, but Tony Stark is not Bruce Wayne. Iron Man kills. Hell, all of the big 3 kill. So even
The problem isn't about them killing, it's the reason why they kill. What's different about this context, sir? Oh yeah, that's right. The character isn't just killing to kill, the character is killing to stop something from happening. We're getting into a moralistic clause here. It's not relevant.
even if he didn't approve of Ironheart's actions, he would be the wrong guy to deliver that message. Kinda like you. Alright, everyone's second favorite tap dancer has a take on the Ironheart show, so let's take a listen.
There must be a bot farm that monitors my videos. And I've noticed this for a while. It usually happens as one of two things. What'll happen is I'll do a review of something, I'll do a reaction, and all of a sudden I'll see everybody saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. It's usually one of two reasons. What I suspect is that there are bot farms out there to push specific agendas, TV shows, movies, whatever have you. So the companies, they pay these bot farms to say, hey, it's great, make sure you check it out. Or sometimes there is something going on online, social media. Either somebody got something going on Twitter, and all their followers are coming to parrot exactly what they said, or someone said something in a video, and it's the same thing, they're coming to parrot. One of the two things happened yesterday. After I did my reaction, I kept getting, hey, it wasn't that bad. I just watched it. Hey, I just watched the first 3 episodes. It wasn't that bad. Hey, it wasn't that bad. Riri's actually pretty incredible. Hey, it wasn't that bad. I'm like, they're all saying it wasn't that bad.
As per usual with grifters, they take the conspiratorial option instead of accepting that people just like the show. He thinks bot farms are descending upon his particular video to push a narrative, which of course begs the question, why hasn't this happened a long time ago and to more people? It's like, if they could do this, why only now and just to you? Another question Mr. Potato Head doesn't have an answer for is why don't he and other grifters call out review bombs for these properties, especially before they've even released? I mean, if the people saying they liked the show are bots, surely those that are saying they don't like a show they haven't even seen are bots too. No? Like these. Literally word-for-word reviews that were posted before the show's actual release. I wonder why this conehead doesn't have anything to say about actual astroturfing.
Every woke box check is in this first episode that I can think of. Everything that you can think of that is woke garbage injected into television shows, movies, comic books, video games is in this first episode that I can think of.
Everything, including the actual definition of woke. I'll never understand how a black man, a person from...
Here's you using woke as a way of attempting to stop and argue with people. From the mouth of a leftist, woke is to be aware of social, racial, and political injustices. Therefore, if anybody ever uses woke in a conversation and they start pandering saying, you don't know what woke is, I get to say, shut the fuck up, right? That's what happens now, right? I get to do that because you decided to use this definition in this way, right?
From the actual community that word comes from, can misuse it the way white conservatives do. I mean, I kind of can.
So, as a black person, what irritates me the most is the overused stereotypes of us.
I agree. Like how we get blamed for the majority of crime when that's not even remotely true according to actual FBI data, so they didn't have to specify violent crime. And
per capita, it continues to beat the black man's ass even when it's a black liberal. Every time. Not all crime. The crime of black on black and in general in society per capita.
When that's also shown to not be true, they have to use per capita. But when exonerations show that...
Totally not mad and molding.
Also to not be true, they then move on to other stereotypes. Like, oh, that's not what you're talking about, is it?
And so, of course, she's from the hood.
But that's not a stereotype. That's an actual statistical reality due to a variety of systemic issues going all the way back to slavery.
And what would be the causes for that? Other than the white man destroyed our culture. They rendered us back to the Stone Age politically and socially. Could it be the crime that's happening in the hood? With niggas trying to be ghetto fabulous? No? Are you sure?
Redlining, loan denial, housing segregation, and racial discrimination all played major roles in forcing black Americans into under-resourced, marginalized communities. In fact, HOAs were originally conceived in part as tools to enforce racial exclusivity, explicitly barring black and other minority families from certain neighborhoods through restrictive covenants and zoning practices. This was shown in the 1948 Supreme Court case, Shelley versus Kramer, where the Supreme Court barred these housing covenants from being legally enforced. But it wouldn't be until the 60s that the Equal Opportunity in Housing Executive Order would be passed that racial discrimination in housing would cease to be federally funded. That's the 60s, Tyrone, only a couple years before you were born, meaning your own parents were dealing with racial inequities regarding housing. It was only a single generation prior to your own birth that these practices were made illegal, which means black people were already relegated to the worst neighborhoods with no way of getting out. Do you think they were magically able to get out of the hood after centuries of not being able to own valuable property and thus build wealth the manner in which white Americans were able to? Are you stupid? What irks me, though, is that when media properties do show black people prospering, these people still hate it. Look at the hate Wakanda gets, simply because it's a black nation that isn't poor. You bitches hate either way, so let's drop the...
It's not about hating black people. And it's not about hating black people for doing better. It's about the fact that black isolationists are the leads of these movements and of these groups and of these thought circuses. Because they're not thought farms. They're not think tanks. They are diatribes to justify hatred of the other. And in this case, it's anybody that's not politically black. Because the politically woke amongst the black, the ones that call themselves the black folk, actively decide that everybody else is beneath them because they don't collectivize into a black isolationist bloc. People do not want to be a part of that bloc. For rejecting that bloc, you tell them that they're not actually a part of the world. You make the same mistake they made in 2016 with calling everybody deplorables. And people will hate Wakanda because of how people have decided to take this viewpoint to say that this is what black culture should be.
This shit is tiring and nobody believes you.
I didn't like the Riri character in Black Panther 2.
Thanks for admitting you held a previous bias against the character that you are now bringing to a show starring that character. Makes my job showing that you're not being honest a whole lot easier.
You know, the black people notice this, is we know if you're authentically hood and if you're not.
Oh, we know. We know.
I like the actress's real voice and personality. I've seen her in interviews. I like that. I wish they had brought that forward rather than trying to make her hood.
Are you aware that this is an actress, Tyrone, and that acting entails that you play a character that may or may not be like you? What even is this criticism? I mean, she originally...
The criticism is, I wish they made her into an intellectual woman that even though she comes from the hood, she does not carry hood status. Instead, they made her a ghetto fabulous Tony Sharkeisha. Tony Sharkeisha. Oh, I'm gonna kill myself. I stopped coughing. The back-to-back cough cycle was up to 15. Oh. Oh my god. Just because she happens to be an African American does not mean that she has to speak with African American black vernacular. She can use the Queen's English. Just because she comes from poor circumstances does not mean those poor circumstances must be reflected in how that character is provided. She is an actress. She is reading what was in the script. He wishes that the character was written differently. There's an argument where the rebuttal to what I just said would be, but you see, they wrote her the way they wrote her because that's her character. What you're saying is that you can't accept her character. Therefore, you are incapable of understanding this piece of media, and you are just as bad as the media grifters, and you are one of those fake fans that need to be told to shut the fuck up, sit the fuck down, and get the fuck out of this hobby that I love. To answer our rebuttal, this nigga suck my dick.
Audition for Shuri, an African princess. That would have been completely different than who she was, and it was different than who ultimately got the role. If your criticism is that a woman who grew up in New York isn't good enough to play a genius character from Chicago, then you might just be an idiot. And for the record, nothing about this show suggests that Riri is living in or from the hood. She lives in a suburb of Chicago. This is what her neighborhood looks like. As a person actually from the hood.
And yet, every single person who lives in this suburb is a stereotype of somebody who would be in The Wire. So, are we going to address the idea of what it means to be black when living in the suburbia and not reflecting the I'm black y'all perspective? Or are we about to cope and seethe about how that ought function as an argumentation piece? Sounds like we're about to cope and seethe.
No, this is not what the hood looks like, my dude. You are telling on yourself.
Of course, she meets a ragtag group of misfits. And what are they all? They're all minorities, and they're all stealing. This is so great. This is so brave and stunning. And it just makes me feel seen as a black person.
You grifters can't get your arguments in alignment at all. If the group was mostly white people stealing, you would complain that the show is showing white people in a negative light, which is exactly what the critical drinker complains about in nearly every single video, which we'll see later in this video.
It really did something for me, right here.
All right, let's move on from this human pile of dirty clothes. This shit is embarrassing.
Hi everyone, it's Az here from Heel vs. Babyface.
Oh good, it's another human pile of dirty clothes.
So it starts off with a soliloquy from Riri, which in my world means something I think completely different to what they think it means. And she talks about how she believes she could be the greatest inventor of her generation. Probably not that difficult, let's be honest. But something's holding her back. She's had all the help from Wakanda, she's had the Stark internship or whatever, but she doesn't have the cash dollar money because the only reason that Tony Stark got to where he was because he was a billionaire. Yeah, I don't think the person that made this watched Iron Man.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a bunch of scraps.
I don't think you did either, because those scraps that Tony used to build his suit and arc reactor were given to him by the 10 Rings to build a missile, you fucking idiot. Riri doesn't have someone giving her those materials. Not only that, the arc reactor was based on an idea by Yinsen, and the arc reactor...
Pause. Tony Stark got where he is in life because of his money, which did not come from him. It came from his father, Howard Stark, and his business that he did in his time period. In other words, she's talking about interracial generational wealth, not the characterization of a person proving that they can defy the odds. In one ear, out the other, from the mouth of babes. Niggas! Being wrong. In the rush to try and deny, you demonstrate the unwillingness to address the points that they're actually making. Lord, it is so fucking performative. But what do I know? I'm just some black nigga.
They already had at Stark Industries. You're literally playing the scene that shows this.
So the technology actually doesn't exist. So it's the technology. Here's the technology. I've asked you to simply make it smaller.
I need cash, money. Do you think Tony Stark would be Tony Stark if he wasn't a billionaire?
Yes.
Well then, you are wrong, sir. Tony was sought after because of his weapons, something that literally wouldn't have existed if his family were of a lower socioeconomic class. No company means no weapons. No weapons means the 10 Rings don't abduct Tony and he never becomes Iron Man. This is what she's saying, that his genius coupled with his money allowed him to become who he was. She has the genius, but she doesn't have the money.
So, you understand the argument. You're just continuing to be facetious and ineffective with how you're arguing it. because you must counterpose everything you hear from the people you frame as media grifters so that you can be antagonistically annoying. Is this effective? Sigh.
The money. I can't believe you people have become names in this space. A monkey could do your job.
So what does Riri Williams do in an attempt?
Is that a point of racism? No. He's saying that he's dumb and a monkey could do his job. You see how I didn't immediately jump to racism and bigotry with your insult? Can you try doing that with people's criticism? Nah.
To procure this cash, does she go and meet her buddies in Wakanda and say, hey, you know that I helped save the world? Can you advance us some coins so I can work on this iron suit? Or give me the vibranium, or whatever it is that she needs tech-wise? No, she does what all good heroes do. Immediately turns to crime.
Even if this oversimplification were true, that would be kind of normal for the heroes in the MCU. Scott Lang has been in prison more times than the real Robert Downey Jr. Steve Rogers resisted the Sokovia Accords and became a fugitive along with his two friends, Sam Wilson and James Barnes. Black Widow is a literal assassin. The Scarlet Witch turned an entire town into a television show. Doing the wrong thing for the right reasons is most of the MCU's cast. This is an incredibly weak talking point because heroes usually break the law in some capacity while on their hero's journey.
The problem is that you're not addressing why she couldn't get the money from Wakanda. Address why she couldn't get money and assistance from Wakanda.
Almost no one starts out on the right side of the law. Hell, vigilantism is a crime, so Spider-Man isn't even safe.
I'm kind of confused because if we're the people that always get called racist, etc., why do all the black writers and showrunners immediately turn their black characters into thieves?
One, yes, you are a racist. I mean, you literally can't have a single discussion without saying something racist about black people.
My stepdad. Black girl magic. The best way to know a thing.
My stepdad because my real dad left me. My stepdad because my real dad left me.
Do you see how you, without prompting, randomly stereotype the black person as having an absentee father there, you human tub of Elmer's glue?
Well, you see, the problem is that this is the way that they chose to write the character, dude. My stepdad, because my real dad died in gang violence. My stepdad, because my real dad doesn't know that I exist because my mother ran off with my childhood seed and then raised me alone as a single mom because she thought he was a bad influence on me. My stepdad, not my real dad, because my real father is an asshole who resists and rejects my mother, but my mother's not that good of a person either. And at least 5 to 7 different other tropes that get used for black origin stories. Is that racism, or is that media tropes? Are the media tropes racist because they effectively repeat the worldview of what has been the experience of African Americans, especially those born after the 90s, latchkey kids, and all? Are media tropes racist? Then your problem's not with him. It's with the tropes. Go to TV tropes and tell them to remove all those examples. You're not going to do that. No, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. You're going to just blame him for racism, for even evoking them. But whatever.
This is you reacting to a trailer, meaning you don't know that her biological father actually died. So you randomly went into a racist tirade completely unprompted, and you're on a panel with a who's who of racist motherfuckers. And you somehow stood out. Oh, but it doesn't.
Now he's on a panel full of racist motherfuckers. So of all the people who are there in this clip
that you can think of that is woke.
From the actual community that word comes, what irritates remotely true exoneration, way back from covenant feathering, able to, it's character. After them making who you are seeing people 30 or giving idea.
If he wasn't
Economic class, his money allowed him to.
What does Riri Williams do in an attempt to system do?
Been to prison, mortal assassin, talking point because even say.
Turn their black character.
Black girl magic.
This white man is racist. 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 Despero is racist. Rags is racist. This creator is racist. This creator is racist. All these people of these various different walks of life, they're all racist, including the gay ones and the European ones. Because neither are not all white. Some of them are Europeans. Quarterback Garrett, a partial minority mix. Racist. Well, you see, racism can exist with people who are minority status. Oh, really? You don't say. I believe we can just defer to Avalon here. When you have a magic word, everything looks like a bigot. Get a version of this with Friday Night Tights. Get a version with this with Friday Night Tights, including all the other women like Chrissy Mayer and X-Ray Girl. All bigots. They're all bigots. Every single one of them. Even the people who work in the support staff. All bigots.
We don't know a thing.
My stepdad because my real dad left me. My stepdad because my real dad left me.
Do you see how you, without prompting, randomly stereotype the black person as having an absentee father there, you human tub of Elmer's glue? This is you reacting to a trailer, meaning you don't know that her biological father actually died. So you randomly went into a racist tirade completely unprompted, and you're on a panel with a who's who of racist motherfuckers. And you somehow stood out. Oh, but it doesn't stop there, ass.
What would her Jarvis be called?
Oh, all of you all started using stereotypes of what we'd start naming these characters. Because African Americans are known for naming their kids very crazy names. Are we now denying that it's something that we do? Apparently so. Y'all niggas frontin'. Real bad. Real bad. But that's okay. We know you're gonna be hypocrites. If you didn't have double standards, you have no standards.
I'm going with Shanae.
I'm gonna go with shit. I'm gonna go with shit.
Oh, look at that. You and your boyfriends are being very not racist. And 2, since when is black writers writing their main characters as a thief a normal thing? Forgive me for assuming here, but someone that looks, talks, and acts like you very likely does not watch a lot of black films, so you'll excuse me if I just disregard this silly talking point. I mean, unless you're trying to tell me that you've seen Higher Learning, Poetic Justice, Boomerang, or Coming to America. Yeah, I'm not gonna hold my breath on that one.
Pause. He's a racist bigot because he hasn't watched films from the 70s, 80s, and 90s that features black culture. Therefore, he doesn't have the right to have an opinion. If you don't shut your ass up.
We've seen it so many times in shows now. It's like they're perpetuating their own stereotype. Just you wait till you get onto the part where she starts killing people.
As a person that has watched all 3 episodes, I'm still waiting for her to start killing people. Maybe you watched the porn parody that Nerdrotic mentioned in his video, because Riri doesn't actually kill anyone in the show so far. Don't know why you would just make that up, but hey, that's why you're you.
Yeah, my means of fundraising have been a little experimental, says the person that's just come straight out of Wakanda.
You bring this up as if you didn't actually watch Wakanda Forever, because at the end of that movie, Shuri, you know, the monarch of that country, specifically told her that she couldn't have any of the tech they worked on while she was there. The implication was that her job was done, and that all Wakandan resources would remain in Wakanda, not to be used outside of the country.
Your suit. It's a great design, but can't let you leave with it. It's all good.
She then blows up the lab in MIT, breaking this poor guy's arm, but it's okay, because he's...
So, here's the problem with your argument there. She told her that she can't leave the country with it. Therefore, that means that she can't be able to get help with other assistance in the future. That's your argument. She told her that she can't keep the tech. Therefore, this is just facetious. She couldn't have given her assistance that wasn't about vibranium. Like money. No. You guys are just grifting again. You don't understand concepts and understandings and basis and material. Yeah, okay, nigga.
He's white.
This is what these morons do. Randomly say things happen to white people in these media properties because they're white. Remember when I said that these grifters can't get their arguments together? This piglin would have exactly the opposite issue of Tyrone had the criminals been made white. Anyway, what actually happened here is Williams caused an accident in a lab. You know, the place where accidents are not exactly a rare occurrence. This guy got himself hurt by panicking and running away, and this very event is what got Riri expelled. How on earth did this potato that fell on the ground spin this as being okay? He's just making shit up.
But then we discovered through all this pitching that she actually has a grant for all of this. So why does she need extra money if she has a grant that is paying for this? The AI's been done, the suit's been... I'm sort of confused as to what her actual problem is, other than being a greedy cow.
Hey, ass, you might want to slow down on calling folks cows. Just a bit of advice there, Slick. In any case, this argument doesn't make any sense, because the grant was paying for MIT's tuition, not solely the suit, you moron. In what universe do you think an Iron Man level suit can be paid for just with a school grant? Your head is large, but there doesn't seem to be anything in there. The rest of this video is more of the same, so let's move on to King Grifter himself.
Well, I told you so's don't get much bigger than this. Ironheart has finally been inflicted on the world after gathering dust in the Marvel vault for the better part of 3 years, and by golly, I can see why they tried so hard to bury this thing.
So Will is once again spreading the lie that Marvel was purposefully withholding this series when we all know the show couldn't release due to those strikes. Imagine that. The critical drinker doesn't know what he's talking about, is making up a lie, and spreading that lie to an ignorant audience. Here is my surprise face again.
Having suffered through the first 3 episodes now, I can confidently say that this is by far the worst thing Marvel have ever produced in nearly 20 years of MCU history.
In what world does this lunatic live where that's even remotely a normal opinion? It's nearly impossible for the show to be worse than Secret Invasion, so we know this is bullshit. Even if I believe that he believes that, and let's be clear, I don't. Isn't this just the latest of the ridiculous hyperbolic statements you always make? Nearly every single media property you review is a disaster. All except yours, strangely. I mean, if I search for the word disaster...
He went to IMDb, and he said, the thing that you made was critically panned. Ha 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 ha. This proves that you don't know what you're doing. Ha 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 ha. What kind of fucking Mandark Dexter Laboratory fucking argument are you making right now? Unironically, what the fuck are you talking about? It obviously ain't cash money. But Hong Kong Fooey, what do I know?
on your channel, every other video's title would have the word disaster in it. You are the king of bullshit hyperbole. Oh, and these are two entirely different videos, by the way. I know it's hard to tell, what with them both having exactly the same title and exactly the same thumbnail, and some of you try to argue that this man isn't a grifter.
A cringe-inducing calamity of a show drenched in identity politics that have aged worse than Mickey Rourke's face.
This is a blatant lie. This show is not drenched in identity politics. He is lying to you. He has a problem with a certain character simply existing. That's it. We'll get there when we get there, but you won't have to wait long.
Weighed down by hammy acting and nonsensical dialogue, a protagonist who's willing to lie, cheat, and steal just to repeat something that's already been done decades ago, a moral compass that changes depending on who it's applied to, and characters so obnoxiously cliched and stereotypical that they feel like a parody of corporate social justice programs. In short, Ironheart is a creative, logical, and probably financial disaster. And the worst possible thing that could happen to Marvel in a year when it's already staring down the barrel of 3 high-profile flops.
Okay, so he's just outright predicting the Fantastic Four will be a flop. I can't wait to see how he tries to erase this from history when that film doesn't flop. I mean, the pre-sales were the best first-day sales of 2025 until Superman went on sale, and basically every box office tracker is predicting it to make almost all of its production budget on its opening weekend. Needless to say, this gonna be good.
So the show picks up with nobody's favorite character, Riri Williams, a grad student at MIT who's been busted helping other students cheat on their exams for money. Riri's angry because she wants more resources to make Iron Man tech available to everyone and become even more famous than Tony Stark, who apparently only succeeded because he was a billionaire.
What the fuck?
As you can see, these grifters share the same brain cell, each of them coming to exactly the same wrong conclusion. I suspect that when Nerdrotic makes his inevitable Ironheart video, he will say the exact same thing. Tag me in his video when he does it. I could use a good laugh.
You've already been given a free scholarship at the most prestigious university in the entire country and 4 years of funding to construct your very own Iron Man suit, and that's still not enough for you?
Once again, her research project is an Iron Man suit. I don't know why you people think school grants would completely cover the cost of something like that. Tuition alone at MIT is around 60 grand, and the full cost of attendance for students, as stated by MIT themselves, is just under 100 grand per year. This means her grant was almost $400,000 just for tuition, housing, and food.
Do you realize how many people would literally kill to be in your position right now?
Fair argument, have to give it to him. But unfortunately, company and country that makes money and has infinite resources chooses not to help with other ways of getting more money to get access to the resources she needs. Now, part of this is because if she could get those resources, it would actually create a problem with the plot. And that lies a lot of what's causing the issue there. Unfortunately, that's not the argument that he's making. So, gonna have to call nigga what you yapping about. But it is what it is at the end of the day.
Right now, do you realize how fucking ridiculously arrogant and entitled this makes you look?
So Drinker is pretending that Riri is complaining here, when actually the opening of the show is her explaining what she was doing to MIT's dean. He's showing on the screen her hustling for the money needed to complete her research, and somehow he thinks she's complaining here. This man's media literacy is almost as dog shit as his video quality.
Also, I hate to break it to you, sweetheart, but there's a very obvious reason why Iron Man suits aren't widely available in this world, and if you stop to think about it for just a second, I'm pretty sure you'll figure it out too.
Well, it's mainly because they're prohibitively expensive, along with requiring a genius to build, which is her point. But this is Iron Man's legacy. He very specifically stated he wanted to put a suit of armor around the world, and his attempt at accomplishing this was the Iron Legion and Ultron. The MCU presents Tony's wish as logically sound, as not accomplishing this goal is one of the reasons Thanos was able to achieve a victory, as stated in Avengers Endgame.
What we needed was a suit of armor around the world. Remember that? Whether it impacted our precious freedoms or not, that's what we needed.
Well, that didn't work out, did it?
I said we'd lose. You said we got together too. And guess what, Cap? We lost. And you weren't there.
Anyway, when Riri rightfully gets expelled for causing massive property damage and subverting the school exam system, she does the logical thing and steals the Iron Man suit that she already built with university funding and takes it for herself.
This is, once again, a blatant lie. The show explicitly states that this is her suit that she built with her own money.
Pretty sure to make sure she doesn't take anything that's not hers. I would never. She built that with her own grant money. She built that with her own grant money.
The problem was she uses an AI that requires her to have access to MIT student privileges, and since she was expelled, she loses that access and thus can't fly her suit.
You know, for a show that's all about challenging racial stereotypes, you're really not sending out the message you think you are with this one.
Once again, sharing that brain cell with Ass, who we definitely know is a racist. I wonder what that makes you, Will.
Anyway, Riri's trying to scrape together enough money to repair her suit. Life is hard when you actually have to work and pay for stuff, isn't it?
He says this as if she wasn't working and paying for stuff. How do you not understand that she was doing the homework for other students and earning money for doing that? It was literally at the very beginning of the first episode. Like, literally in the first 3 minutes of the show. You explicitly showed that footage.
When she's approached by a guy named Parker, who offers the chance to join his ethnically and sexually diverse criminal gang, including this, unique individual. What even is this show, man?
Just blatant bigotry here. One of his criticisms of the show is about the actor, not even the character. The actor. I'll never understand how this channel is not only monetized, but actively promoted by YouTube while clearly breaking YouTube's terms of service.
In return for using her Iron Man suit to help them steal from people, she'll get all the money and resources she needs. And because stealing and breaking the law is only bad if other people do it, Riri immediately accepts his offer.
Except that's another blatant lie. Riri almost immediately attempts to leave when she finds out who these people are. Parker manipulates her by lying where the exit is and then shows her the money, convincing her to stay. Like, why lie about this stuff? We can easily provide footage of this not being the case.
And when you're ready for the respect and the money you deserve, come work for me.
No.
That's a closet.
I'm not getting back on that elevator.
Let me show you another way. So what's it gonna cost to get you to change your mind? Consider this a signing bonus.
I assume these jobs aren't exactly legal.
Not exactly.
But look, I don't want to hurt anyone.
Theft, extortion, breaking and entering.
Why?
Why do you make iron suits? I'm sure you have a good reason why you do what you do. And I have reasons I'm out. Join me. And I will give you the tools to help you carry out your vision. ASAP. So you in a row.
Gotta be worth it.
She immediately accepts his offer, huh? I mean, I can understand lying about a movie that's in theaters where it's harder to get footage, but a TV show on a widely available streaming platform? Are you dumb?
I mean, the problem you have here is that you're really making an argument of time. She didn't immediately accept the offer and say, I'm in. How many white men can I hurt? It was literally within the same episode. I understand that this is something that you want to potentially be able to be annoying about, but... you know, you probably shouldn't have done it that way. Makes you sound like a retard. In my opinion. Well, what do I know? I'm just some dumb chud.
You realize you could just take this kind of technology to any major tech firm in the country and they give you so much cash you could swim in it, right?
But then they would own the suit because they put up the money and would likely attempt to rob her of her intellectual property. It's like, did you not watch Iron Man 2 where the US government tried that exact thing? It's literally why War Machine exists. And you really should stop trying to rewrite Marvel stories and focus on letting Mauler ghostwrite yours, Drake.
Or how about Wakanda? They seem like they'd be more than happy to have someone of your talents on boards.
See? That brain cell is getting a real workout. In any case, we don't even know if she can contact the people of Wakanda. Man-Ape is the king now, and we don't know his policies regarding the usage of Wakandan tech. All we know is that Shuri didn't allow it to leave Wakanda. Riri is a genius. I'm sure if she could contact Wakanda, she would have done so by now. And even then, she probably wouldn't want to after selling the car that Shuri had fully restored. Might be an awkward conversation she doesn't want to have.
Oh yeah, and she also hooks up with a black market arms dealer who for some reason is a total pussy that immediately caves into her demands, gives her everything she wants, and acts like a complete simp for the rest of the show. Oh my goodness, what are the chances that the one and only white guy in this show would turn out to be a completely submissive pussy?
Do you all see my earlier point? How Tyrone claimed the criminals were minorities based on stereotypes, and how this dipshit thinks the white guy was made a pussy because he's white? It's these guys that makes everything about identity politics. They can't just be characters in a show. They have to be culture war talking points every single time. Alden is not even the only white guy. Sacha Baron Cohen is in this show, and Drinker's leaving out that by the end of the second episode, Joe has learned—
Sacha Baron Cohen is not a white character. He is literally Mephisto. You haven't addressed Mephisto. I'd like to see you address Mephisto. Are you going to address Mephisto? No? Inconsistent.
stick up for himself, and in the third episode, Joe is the one blackmailing Riri, forcing her to do what he wants.
But today's not really a good day for me, so run back.
No.
Excuse me?
I said no. You're gonna help me as much as I need, or I'm gonna tell your mom how we really know each other. So take a gander at these, and I will see you at my place tomorrow. Is 6 good? I'm sorry, what am I saying? 6 is good. See you then. Thanks for teaching me to stand up for myself.
Gives her everything she wants and acts like a complete simp for the rest of the show. It's like a complete simp for the rest of the show.
So that was a fucking lie. Anyway, I think we've all had enough anti-Ironheart videos for one sitting. They're all like this. No attempt to actually engage with or understand the material, comically blatant bigotry, and the grifter specialty, outright lies. This is why media discourse is no longer fun, because these people not only poisoned it with their large followings where people repeat their nonsense without themselves ever watching the material or checking to see if what their favorite psychopath said was true, but also because it takes too much energy to refute this level of diluted nonsense, so people don't even try.
It doesn't really take that much effort, and you can put in the effort. Oh no, people don't fight back against bad narratives because they're too lazy. Okay, and therefore abdication is the only result, and you're gonna whine about how people are behaving in this matter on that concern? Okay, what next, dumbass? What next? What's next? Nothing? Abdication is the only way? Fuck anything else that matters? Lazy.
It's not a coincidence that the large grifters didn't make a video on Sinners, or if they did so very late and uploaded the videos to their second channels, where it would be nice and buried, safely away from the eyes of their regular audience, but immediately jumped on this property the second it was released. That's because they're not reviewers. They're outrage merchants.
They're outrage merchants. They're not reviewers. Except for all of those different talk shows that they do, where they in fact review the shows with other people who are experts in the field. Other people who are critics in the field. They're just liars, bro. They're just liars. Except for that fact where they put in the effort. It's so sad. It's just so sad.
There was no real attempt at criticism, just trying to make the audience as outraged as possible. Where could Marvel improve the story? What could be changed to make the show better? How could the pacing improve? Whose dialogue can be tweaked to allow exposition to flow better? None of these questions are answered, and instead, they get upset that an LGBTQ person simply exists in the show. That's because these people are not...
This is an argument that would only apply to one person, not everyone.
Questions are answered, and instead, they get upset that an
They're angry about a queer person existing. They're angry about a non-binary person existing. Because they reacted to this divergent lifestyle choice existing and being performatively and intentionally platformed in this content, that means all of their other criticisms mean nothing. But that is something that might apply to the Critical Drinker and this guy. Didn't see it in Nerdrotic's content. Didn't see it in Az's content. For all the people who could have put it in their work, didn't see it. Wasn't something that I criticized. Wasn't something that Jay criticized. Wasn't something that Mahler criticized. Definitely something that Rags criticized. You know why he did that? Because Rags is gay! So, you have a problem with people having opinions that you don't agree with. You have a problem with people having opinions that you don't agree with. And you get mad about it. And you use that as justification to say that they don't deserve to have the right to speak. Nigga, go fuck yourself. You have to. You have to go fuck yourself.
LGBTQ person simply exists in the show. That's because these people are not reviewers. They're culture warriors. They're not giving real opinions and analysis. They're saying what they think the audience wants to hear.
So aren't you saying what you think your audience wants to hear, as you are quite literally summarizing as we already know about these people? Oh, but you're exempt from that, right? You're not a culture warrior. You're a culture warrior archivist. Your job is to detail it. Your job is to do the work so other people don't have to, right? Right? You don't have bias. You're not able to look behind yourself and say, I've done everything possibly a little bit with a concern to my own opinion. No. You're always objective. You're always objective, and you are always correct, because you did the work. Actually, this was just a snippet of the macrocosm of what it looks like. You're not going to do the microcosm, because why listen to those people? It's giving them more attention. Lazy abdication.
Their content is low-effort garbage, easily pumped out conveyor belt slop, ready-made with the latest...
Isn't yours also the same thing? You're just being a hater, right? They're supposedly just haters. They're haters and they're midgets, and they hate it because they hate it. And you hate them, so you make content about them. In the same slop fashion. Why not make it a video essay? Because I don't want to. Then shut the fuck up.
Talking points, which is why you'll hear the same things from different people over and over, begging the question, why listen to any of them when they don't have an original thought between them? They have no integrity because they sold their souls a long time ago. They are digital prostitutes, willing to do anything for $1. They are everything they claim.
Are you not a digital prostitute? Haha! Now you're projecting this opinion onto Sparrow as well. That's crazy. Are you not a digital prostitute? Are you not somebody who's doing this clearly for intentions of money? No, you're doing it because it's what you truly think and believe, right? Copenhagen and the Seethen, bro. Copenhagen and the Seethen.
The other side is only much fouler, more crass, and far, far more stupid. For far too long, these morons have been spreading their rhetoric unabated, unchallenged, and with resistance they could simply ignore. But unfortunately for all of them, I exist.
Who watches the Grift Man? The Bird Man does. And he does it shittily. Doon 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 doon. Eye roll. Maximum eye roll. And now, the final video. Well, third to final video. The Critical Drinker chats about the Birdman. He succeeds in being annoying enough to get noticed by Will Jordan. Let's see what he has to say.
Someone sent the Cynical Grifter another super chat about me, and we're going to respond to that.
All of the smaller channels like the Birdman are so sure you're running scared after all their takedown videos are hilarious, especially since you probably didn't even know a lot of them existed. Can I hear this in context with all of these racists that exist on the panel? You know, like this European man, and the Welsh man, and the possibly white man, and the white man, and the Indian woman? Question mark? You know, the known racists and bigots of the open bar. Open, as in talks to multiple people, in rotation. With his co-host.
But first, a bit of background. There's this loser that's been making video after video after video about yours truly called...
Now, excuse me, I thought what you're supposed to do when you have a problem with a person and you want to point out the case point that you have about them is that you should spend the time doing it, remember? Right? Nobody has the time to review these critics. Nobody has the time to hold these media grifters to account. But I exist. What do we, what value do we extract from that? When you have a problem with a type of media that you don't see being criticized, be willing to do the hard work and effort to call them out, right? That's what your channel started as. It started as a criticism of Jeremy Scott and him constantly having a mission creep of him deciding to go from actually talking about real problems in media into using CinemaSins the same way Video Donkey used the video game Reddit on Reddit to justify his jokes as real criticisms of work. Right? That was what you did. You just said it. We just watched it. Now, if someone takes their time to criticize you and your opinions in the marketplace ideas, now when they do it to you, they are a loser.
Sandman Cinema, a disingenuous piece of shit parrot that basically clips my videos out of context in his weak attempts at...
And you don't clip other people's videos out of context? Oh. Oh, how rich. Oh, how rich. Now when the shoe's on the other foot, and it doesn't meet what you think is your standard, now they're pieces of shit that are just disingenuous and don't deserve to have attention. So why are you talking about them? You made them more popular by talking about them. Argumentatively, you could say that the other media grifters are so big that it encourages you to criticize them because you think people won't criticize them simply because they're too big to fail. But he could make a name off of you. Is that the reason why it's different? Am I coping? Am I seething, chat? It sounds to me like you're angry that you're being criticized, and to try and prevent yourself from being criticized, you're trying to nip him in the bud. He even did your same format, exposing the grifter, the Birdman. Rules for thee and not for me, huh? Rules for thee and not for me.
Making me look bad. I have thus far not responded to those videos because the guy...
Except that you're responding right now.
...is a low IQ moron that is seeking...
He's a low IQ moron, therefore I don't have to address his points, therefore his points are not worthy. Okay, let's do the same thing to you in your content, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people already do.
...seeking attention. I mean, his videos are hate videos, not criticism videos.
They're not criticism videos of me. It's just him hating on me and displaying my behavior, which would make people not like me based on how I choose to behave. Shoe on the other foot, you would try to abuse power however you could.
And he's clearly just a right-wing loser that gets upset when people criticize right-wing.
Why are you mentioning his politics? Why are you claiming that he's right-wing? Did he declare this himself, or is this your opinion of him? I can't take your word for credit about shit, as I have to fact-check you. You can tell me it's fucking, like, that it's raining outside and the sky is blue, and I had to double-check.
Wingers and their ideas. He's worth nobody's time, in other words. But he clipped a...
But you mentioned him, therefore he was worth your time.
Recent live stream where the cynical grifter responded to a question about me, because apparently this is a big moment for him. Finally, the cynical grifter has put Big Bad Birdman, who hurts my feelings all the time, in his place. Right? Okay, well, I'm gonna cook everybody involved here.
I did like this super chat as well. All the smaller channels like the Birdman that are so sure you're running scared after all their takedown videos are hilarious, especially since you probably don't even know a lot of them exist. I just don't waste time with stuff like that.
He's not nervous laughing because he's intimidated by you. He's not even nervous laughing. He's just laughing like a boomer.
So the super chat states that I, the Birdman, believe the drinker is running scared after my quote, takedown, end quote videos, and that Drinker doesn't know I exist. So let me, the Birdman, answer this super chat. I don't think Drinker is running scared because of my videos. Not in isolation, anyway. No, it's clear that Drinker has no intention of responding to any criticism because that has the potential to threaten his business model. It's similar to The Wizard of Oz. There's a man behind the curtain, and acknowledging someone talking about the man behind the curtain makes that criticism real in the mind of his followers. Ignoring that criticism prevents the majority of his audience from even knowing the criticism exists. That's why he doesn't respond. So it's not that he's scared of me in particular. He's afraid of losing his audience, which he definitely would if he engaged people criticizing his ideas or got into some type of debate.
Pause. Why? If he was to address my points, he would lose audience and lose followers. Why? Well, because my points are so good that I take them. I would take them. I would snatch them from him. Because my opinions are so good that I can prove that he doesn't deserve them. Naturally, they'll recognize I, with my big brain and my big body and my big black cock, are the superior creator, like a mandingo standing over the bred wife that he was forced to watch cuckold him. People will know that I'm the superior creator. Is that the argument? Is that the argument you're presenting? Certainly, even without the joking and the derogatory obscenity and absurdity that I just inserted there, that is in fact the argument you're making, right? My opinions prove that he's wrong. Therefore, if I was to debate him on the open bar and I was to have a conversation with him live on camera, people would be so chagrinedly taken back with how he's behaving that it would mean that I would be able to take his audience from him. That's what you're saying. That's the argument you're making to me right now. Dead ass? I don't think that's how that would work, sir. But what do I know? I'm some dumb black nigga.
I briefly spoke about this in a live stream.
If I met any grifter in person, what's the first thing I'm doing? Nothing? I mean, I don't know what you want me to do. Argue with these morons in public? They don't want no smoke with me. Not that type.
They don't want no smoke with me. Ergo, I would completely blast them out of existence. I would make them cry. I would prove that they are grifters, and I would expose them. I would expose them. And then they'd have nothing of value to say, because I exposed them. That's what you're saying. That is your approach. My nigga, are you sure about that? If you're not sure about it, probably shouldn't speak it into existence. But this is apparently something that you are confident in.
Type of smoke. Not real life smoke. I don't think grifters in general want to argue their positions. I think they're pussies.
So, if they didn't argue their positions through their content, how would people know their arguments? It is not the case that every single person that's listening to this content must be like the grifters that exist on Twitter, that just repeat talking points and narratives from other people. It is actually the case that some of them probably have talking points of their own volition. And what you're doing is you're abdicating the idea that you should even do it, because it's apparently just an absurd thing to do with your time. This goes back again to the effectiveness argument. Are you making an argument about the case that it's not effective, or is this you saying it's a waste of my time because it's not going to be something that benefits me personally? In the argument that you're currently making, you're saying that it doesn't benefit you personally, so you wouldn't do it. That's not the same thing. That's not the same thing, sir. No, sir, that's not the same thing, sir. It's very lazy, sir. Very, very lazy, sir. Very lazy. Very lazy, sir.
I mean, like in a debate. Now, I don't like debating because I think of it as pageantry.
Debating is pageantry. Having somebody who is a proper moderator control the conversation in space, and so that the deep-root conversations at the core of a person's philosophical and argumentary pool of action is exposed in front of a live studio audience of any person who is willing to listen, but most definitely the audiences of the people who are going to come to consume it, that's not worth doing. You shouldn't do that. Question mark? Okay.
It's a popularity contest.
I argue a good debate isn't supposed to be a popularity contest. In the view of my side, it's the side that I vote with. It would be more like Anna Kasparian versus Pearl Davis. There would be a very clear winner based on who is prepared to have the conversation and who is obviously not. If you're so confident, why not run these niggas for a gambit? It's free money. It's a free lick, right?
Oh, you know, this guy has more followers than you, therefore they won the argument. This is how people actually think.
Because we live in an attention economy, and audience size equals reach. Nobody would know who you are if you didn't have reach.
I'm not joking. People come to my channel all the time. Oh, they have more followers than you. That must mean they're right. They literally say that. So what's the point? What would be the point of a debate? You know, that's my perspective.
To grow your audience reach, to make sure that your viewpoint is expressed as the one that should be correct, by competing against the people that you believe have weak arguments. Which, by the way, you already do that by making your video. The only thing that you'd be changing is that you would lose your prep time. Which is the thing people actually want to see. They want to see you on your toes. They want to see what you think in the moment, and the arguments you could try to make in the moment. Then, if what you want to do is improve, do what I'm doing. Do a pip. Address the things that probably need to be addressed in the moment that are a concern of tactic, and then move forward and develop it. But you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that format. Because you would rather have the format where you debate people at long-range distance by saying they're media grifters and then lying about them in the edit. You want it that way because that's more manipulatable than the one that you currently are doing. Which is that people hear what you say, they repeat it back verbatim, regardless of if they're an A-logging channel or not, and then you are trying to fight for your honor because you believe past Birdman is responsible for making present and future Birdman have to defend bad takes and bad arguments. Especially on a conversation about how one ought behave.
Perspective. But their perspective, they don't want to debate because they know that their ideas can't stand up to scrutiny in real time.
And you believe yours can, so why not fucking run the gambit? Again, nah, it's because I don't want it. It's not in my interest. Bitch made. Excuse.
They know that. So they would never do it. They have no reason to do it. Because if they got exposed in real time, well, there goes the grift. It's gone. It's over.
That's not how grifts work, though. A grift works by people already believing it so much that nothing's going to dissuade them. Right? Because that's the argument people make. Nobody cares about this real content. They're just doing this because it's a way to make easy money. They go down the path of least resistance. Use your own logic here. What's the easiest path of resistance? A path where they continue believing the things that they already believe from the content creator or from the opinion haver? Or saying, it might be possible that I might have been tricked, and changing their mind to come somewhere closer towards, if not exactly down the timeline, of your decision-making skills and tools and matrices? The answer is it's easier to stay the same than change. So that doesn't follow suit with normal thought processes. But okay, that's whatever. That's alright. No big deal.
They can ignore me. You know, they can ignore my videos. Well, they kind of can't because, like, it's been reaching them. And, you know, somebody super chatted.
It's been reaching the followers and fans. And the followers and fans have been letting them know that they've been making videos, that you've been making videos about them. Not the other way around. Thank you, Boster, for the $75. Whee! Oh, my back. Moving forward.
The critical drinker and asked him, what do you think about the Birdman, whatever. It's like, he's a hater. You know, he called me a hater.
You are a hater. You, in fact, hate him and his content, and you think that he's doing media work wrong. What else can he say? There's a lot he could say, actually. He could say, I think that he's misguided, but he has a mind's eye for criticism. It's unfortunate that he's decided that the proxy that he'll use for his criticisms is to attack me and my mutuals. But you shouldn't then use that to discount his content. He might have things of value to say. I just wish that he would utilize that analytical mind to look for problems where they are, rather than blaming the fault of many things that are a problem in the industry and the people who are making things in it as something that is just culture wars slop, drama slop that should be ignored because it effectively hits home and attacks some of his sacred cows. He could say something like that, and you'd still fucking hate him. You would still fucking hate him. Because you see him as the antithesis of a fan.
I'm a hater for saying that you lied about this thing. That's hate. That doesn't even make any sense. But whatever. That's what they do.
You go behind him and you try to criticize him anytime, anywhere, at all times in the existence. Yes, that is hater content. That is hater behavior.
Push me off, and they don't have to engage with me.
Well, you have opinions about their content. They don't want to engage with your material. That means that they don't want to engage with you, not that they don't want to engage with your argument. Why do you think that engaging with you directly and not giving you clicks is the same thing as not engaging with the arguments that you're making? Oh, because you want them to give you attention to your channel so that you effectively are able to get clicks and links going back to yourself. So it's the same level of behavior as someone like Irrelevant attacking Asmongold. It's just incels and grifters, incels and grifters, incels and grifters. You didn't give me attention personally so I can grow my channel off you. Incels and grifters. It's just as bad as the argument of woke people and gay agenda. Woke people and gay agenda from the other angle for the culture warriors. Because they refuse to engage with your culture warrior behavior, specifically from how you make your content, that means that they're unwilling to engage with the arguments that you're potentially presenting. Because if they don't immediately come from your mouth, then they're not truly doing their job. Their job isn't to be a react engine for you, nigga.
Which is fine. I'm not looking to be acknowledged by these niggas. Like,
yes, you are, because you're criticizing them. You are, in fact, looking for them to react. You're making the content and actively doing it with the intention that someone is going to tell them about it and see if they will actually react to you. You are doing it for attention. Ah, fuck. Don't you start glitching, motherfucker. There we go. You are, in fact, doing it for attention. Let's do it like this. You are, in fact, doing it for attention. You are doing it for attention. You are doing it for attention and monetization. You are doing it for attention and money. If you weren't, you wouldn't be on YouTube. Why do you lie? Why do you lie? You're not doing it out of the tenderness of your heart as a side project and a hobby. This is how you make your money. Part of it, when you're not doing voice acting. You, in fact, do it for the money and attention. That is what your channel is doing. It's not for the sake and love of the game of the argument. Otherwise, you would debate people. You're not willing to do it because you think it's gay and lame. Or you would rather make the money whining about them and complaining about them on all the other things that you choose to review, alternatively to the thing you're actually doing. Why do you have to lie? Be honest. Hate me, but hate me honestly.
I don't give a fuck what they think. They're wrong. They're bigoted pieces of shit. Fuck them.
So then make the one and done and have a no turd twice rule and move on. But you won't.
But what I'm saying is they have no reason to engage with somebody like me. They just don't.
Yes, they do. Clearing their name, for example. Going behind themselves and going to your work and taking your examples of argumentation and argumentation that you've made that is the same as other people who have criticized them, claiming that they're disingenuous and bad and culture warriors and grifters, and address the reason why they don't normally address all of them. The same way that people don't want to see Anthony Gramuccia continue to give attention to Mahler despite Mahler being the bigger creator, and why Mahler and all the people associated on EFAP don't address or invite Anthony Gramuccia to have a conversation. Because you go out of your way to be maliciously deceitful about what they do in their material work. And you present and try to create hate watch parties designed to leak and eke information and views off the programming that they make and that they do.
Don't. So they won't.
So no, I don't think he's scared of me, but he's definitely afraid of exposing his audience to people like me, because we directly threaten his ability to make a living by telling them the truth about him.
So everybody would just simply make videos in the way where they basically are in a citadel, which has basically been the majority of content on Twitch and YouTube at time immemorial, but they do in fact disagree with people and push back. They do in fact address you occasionally. They just don't dedicate videos to your content. They have someone ask them a question and they give a throwaway response. That then gets clipped in the same way as the opinions of lead designers from people like He Who Quacks. You want a full-threaded video about you. You're not getting one. You're not getting one. Not from them. Suck it up.
Many Drinker fans that have watched my videos have changed their mind about the guy, and that's what he's actually afraid of.
Okay, you've changed the minds of some people. They're allowed to. They're allowed to take in new information and then be able to come to a better conclusion. But if what actually happened is that, oh, I needed to be able to bust them down, and I needed to aggressively assault them with arguments so that I can change their mind, the way that Pig Puncher transformed into Xanderhole, what you're really doing is you're bullying them, actually. You are harassing and bullying them, and being abrasively a contrarian and aggressive, and conflict desirable. So all so that these people, who effectively have weak minds, can be manipulated into joining your side because they were on the board for the concepts for reasons different and episodically vaster than what everyone else is for. They were wrong for the same reasons why there were people who were supporting Curtis Rambo when he first made his DEI detected list. Yeah, fuck the woke people. Not, I have an intrinsic hatred of how the industry currently functions, and I would like to see my enemies destroyed inside of it, and this is the only single issue I vote on. Anything else I'm unconcerned with, because I do not care about the woke status shit, because I have a developed opinion of my own.
Oh, and he clearly knows me, Book of Grudges, as this is not the first time Drinker has fielded questions about me. I mean, he literally states he's vaguely aware of who I am in this live stream, which is a lie, but fine. We'll go with that.
I'm vaguely aware that the Birdman's a channel. Apparently he doesn't like me very much.
Well, you can join the club.
Okay, so I have two things to say about this particular clip. First, I don't know who this person is, but she apparently knows me and who I like. I Googled her, and she's, of course, an anti-woke slop artist with a less than substantial following. And that's funny.
She has a smaller following than mine. Specifically, a channel of 7,003 subscribers with 70 videos. This means she doesn't deserve to be heard because I'm bigger than her. Anytime that our channel's ever been smaller than somebody else, because they don't automatically have 1 million subs, that means their opinion should never be listened to. Including all those people who agree with me. I'm sorry, the rule is now, when you're too small, shut this fuck up and suck someone's cock. Is this the standard you want to imply on the world? Apparently so.
Funny to me because the Critical Drinkers fans always like to point out how much smaller than him I am, like the Super Chat did, but fail to mention that Drinker cohorts with people that are an order of magnitude smaller than me. I mean,
therefore, they shouldn't ever be platformed. If they have opinions that they agree with and that they'd like to platform them, they should never do that. And that means that they are not deserving of attention, but again, you are. And the argument is based on authority, based on size, based on preference, based on subscribers, on a website that doesn't properly show content anyway, where people can be able to grow at the rate in which you were able to, because your content is consumed by the types of people who would definitely give you attention just because you're bashing against the right target. That's never been a thing that happened for the left wing. Never. Never, ever.
I mean, I have literally 300,000 more subscribers than Dark Hour, and George the Giant Slayer's name is completely apropos. What I'm saying is, I don't think my size is why the drinker avoids responding to my criticism, and it wouldn't be why he'd be unaware of who I am. He clearly knows a lot of small channels. The second thing I wanted to say is, saying I don't like...
The context of small here is being used as a gradient. You are a medium-sized channel. You are above 100k subs. These people are closer to my number than they would ever be closer to your number. Do not call yourself a small channel. Stop it. Own your shit.
You very much is an oversimplification, Will, but a very deliberate one. This is what these people teach their audiences to do, that because someone is criticizing you, it's because they don't like you, not that your ideas...
They clearly can dislike you and they can dislike the ideas. The problem is that for some people, the dislike of the person comes with the criticism, not out of the criticism. I don't dislike you as a person, I just dislike the things that you think, and I dislike the arguments that you make. Versus, nigga, not only do I hate you, you are representative of all the things that are wrong with niggas in this world. These are things that you're not arguing and making a proper cohesive difference about, only except in the moment in which you use it as a justification for which you may bash someone. And that is inherently bullshit and lazy. It is inherently bullshit and lazy.
And talking points are bad and worthy of critique. This, of course, is exactly what their audiences come to my channel to say. No, Will, you are a liar and a manipulator. I have shown countless times that you are both those things. In my very last video on you, I showed beyond a shadow of a doubt that you had information on a film that you decided to withhold from your audience because you wanted to make a movie look bad. If that's why people don't like you, that's entirely justified because you are dishonest and a grifter. I stopped watching you 3 years before I ever made a video on you. If my content was based solely on whether I liked you, I would have been making anti-drinker videos in 2021. No, the truth is, I started the Exposing the Grift series because what you people do has gotten completely out of hand. Lying, bigotry, and dog shit media analysis is far too normal, and I figured I should take a stand because I didn't see anyone standing up to you guys. Of course, unbeknownst to me, there were people doing so, but as far as I know, no one of my size, and not with any regularity. I thought I was already taking on the guys who started terrible media analysis and CinemaSins, but you people are so much worse. So here I am, standing in your way. Not because I dislike you, but because you need to be stopped.
So, there it is. The entire reason why you created your series is because, well, Jeremy Scott's and his need of, backstabbing the idea of his own content creep. I mean, that's really bad. But you guys are worse. so I have to stand in your way. And when I don't give my recognition for doing so, it's proof that you know that I would take your audience. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you say?
Yeah, Christmas. Happy vibes.
Yeah, I'm not going to waste any time. Like, I'm never going to make a response video. I'm never going to get into some stupid beef with people like that.
Here's another dishonest framing of the issue, calling this beef.
It is in fact beef. You in fact have miles and miles and miles of ground chuck you would like to take him to task for every single time. You are beefing. You are in fact beefing. You have beef. You have problems. You have criticism. Stop trying to be fucking annoying about how words work. You know what you have. You do not like him. You do not like his content. You have a problem with it. You have dedicated yourself to trying to antagonize it. Shut up! Own your shit! Shut up!
This is not beef, sir. What I am doing to you is called criticism. This is...
Your criticism is based in your dislike of him. Your dislike of him is beef. Case closed.
Stupid on its face. He wouldn't call what he does to movies and TV shows beef, so why...
Yes, he would. Because it is yet another way to say criticism. You have problems with his work. That criticism of the work is the beef. Your criticism is the beef. The fact that he will not address you in any way that you want is the beef. You want him to address you, and he won't. And that is the beef. He ignores you and your content, and you believe that it makes him a grifter, and because of that behavior and that systematic, constant need to have the attention, that is the drama, which is the beef.
Why is he labeling what I do to him in this manner? Once again, this is because he's trying to train his audience. If he can...
Are people clapping seals with no brains of their own? Sometimes, yes. But are there so few people in this world that you think consume the content that they don't have a mind of their own to possibly do exactly what I'm doing right now? Nigga, be for real!
Convinces them that I just have a beef with him, then they can dismiss the criticism of his ideas out of hand by just calling it hate.
It's amazing. I love it. Love this stuff. Otam says, so, various reactors and viewers were flown out to see the Supergirl trailer, but you guys are apparently the grifters. Make it make sense. I can't.
I'm not a grifter. I don't actually react to trailers anymore. I tried it one time, no one cared, and I stopped.
I think in a world where fucking everybody calls everybody grifters, it's amazing that someone like actually shilling for an app that's going to destroy you monetarily isn't considered the king of the grifters. It's like, grifting doesn't mean that anymore. It means you have an opinion on a film I don't like.
That incoherent nonsense by Mahler aside, I think Mahler is being hypocritical here.
That is incoherent. People who say everything is grifting don't realize that things that are really bad for you and not recognizing that it's bad because there are too many people focused on hating someone who currently has the limelight isn't a case of how grifting actually happens. The kicking of the can down the road, the ignoble circumstances and conclusions, that's gobbledygook to you. Okay.
It's like, grifting doesn't mean that anymore. It means you have an opinion on a film I don't like.
That incoherent nonsense by Mahler aside, I think Mahler is being hypocritical here. Notice how flippantly he just used the word shill. His side uses the word shill in the same way they think we use grifter. This group calls people...
You do it the same way. Both of you are guilty of this. However, you are in fact doing it for money. You are in fact taking deals. You are in fact taking money from your audience. You are in fact selling your position out for the basis of something that you might believe in, but ultimately has a financial earning report. You are in fact shilling. You are shilling for your worldview, you are shilling for the corpos, you are shilling for the ad space. Excuse me. Nigga, be for real. I'm gonna put you on double time.
people shills simply because those people like something, not because they are getting paid to astroturf, which is the correct definition of shill. If anything, these people have ruined the word shill. I tell you, it's always projection from this side. It's unbelievable.
Guess what? They also don't like the astroturfers. They've called out the astroturfers before. Should they be using the word shill interchangeably with people who are being paid to astroturf and create and paint a picture that is dishonest? No, they probably shouldn't. But the problem is that, again, your pedantic behavior. Is this an effective way to win people over? No, it isn't. Because the people you're winning over are people who were basically midwits to begin with.
I have actually defined grifter or media grifter in multiple videos at this point, and I have stuck by that definition. Everyone that I have called a grifter has fit that definition, and I have, in public and private, refused to call people grifters when they do not fit the definition I have given. So, it's always projection from this side. It's unbelievable. I have actually defined...
You have defined a media grifter as a person that financially benefits for farming outrage about a media property. Guess what? You are farming outrage about a media property. You are a media grifter. No, I'm not. What is the product I'm constantly trying to antagonize? The entirety of the works and the sphere of influence that is Friday Night Tights. You have made an industry out of trying to criticize Will Jordan and his many, many friends and co-workers and collaborators. Shut the fuck up. By your own terminology, you are a media grifter. Shut the fuck up. It's as simple as that.
Find grifter or media grifter in multiple videos at this point, and I have stuck by that definition. Everyone that I have called a grifter has fit that definition, and I have, in public and private, refused to call people grifters when they do not fit the definition I have given. So even if there are people that call others grifters for not liking something they like, don't apply that shit to me, because I...
Because your opinion is the opinion that you apply to yourself. And you don't subscribe to other people's opinions. Guess what? Other people don't describe yours either. Both popular people and normals. Take accountability. Suck an inclusive magnitude of donkey cock.
I have not done that. And if you don't like my truncated definition of a media grifter, consider Wikipedia's page on the top. A grifter is essentially a scammer, and a scam is an attempt to defraud someone after first gaining their trust. I proved, with zero room for interpretation, that the critical drinker withheld information from his audience in my very last Exposing the Grift video. He was told by his own friend how Supergirl's powers work at least a day before releasing a video shitting on the Supergirl trailer for apparently violating how her powers work.
Well, yeah, why does she need to take a spaceship to get places when she can just literally fly wherever she wants to go?
So, right, so if she is in a place that has a red sun, she probably will not have her power set, right?
Yeah.
So that's why her Kryptonian physiology, which would not prevent her from getting drunk in one place, might allow her to get drunk in a different place, because that yellow sun isn't activating her cells.
That's tremendously helpful from a writing point of view, isn't it? Because then you can just have her be a normal person.
A few moments later.
Quirky, pseudo-retro science fiction gags? Don't worry, we've got you covered. Because clearly when you have the ability to fly out in space, a bus is the natural choice for getting around.
Huh? He never read a comic on Supergirl, blatantly admitting he has no true knowledge of the character from the source material.
Has anyone read the superhero, the Superguard comic books?
No.
No.
Huh? Even if you think I hate the critical drinker and that every other video I've ever released on the guy was bullshit because of that hatred, that specific instance proved that he's a grifter by anyone's definition. He has the trust of his audience, and he defrauded them by intentionally leaving out crucial information that would ruin his criticism of that trust. So remember, it's not him disliking something I like, it's him deceiving people and selling outrage for financial gain. You know, a grifter.
I think grifting has come to mean anyone who's more successful than me. It's like, oh, that guy's clearly a grifter.
What an insanely stupid thing to say, Will. First of all, you just shit on your own audience. People that are less successful than me but still try coming to my channel and calling me a grifter. I mean, the guy whose video we're currently watching literally calls me a woke grifter, so thanks for the ammunition to use against this fruitcake, Will. Appreciate it. And if you're wondering, yes, this is the thumbnail.
By your own standard, it's justified. Yeah. Coughing. Then it's 18. 19. 20. after coughing my lungs out. Again, this is a definition that can fully apply to you, Birdman. Unless you're willing to accept your view for what it is. Everyone should just consider you whining.
He's using to look less attractive, which is what these types always do. I mean, you've seen the ugly Daisy Ridley and Rachel Zegler thumbnails when these women are actually very beautiful. He's based this thumbnail on this image of me, and you can see the clear exaggeration of my features from this racist, obsessed little bitch who's too...
Racism or essentializing what is effectively a soy jack. It's racism, you see. He's inherently trying to make me look ridiculous. Therefore, it must be motivated by racism and bigotry and hatred. Not satirizing. Not memification, which he very much has become. No. It's all racism and bigotry the entire way down. Interesting.
Too afraid to appear on camera, probably because he looks exactly what you think he looks like. Anyway, this is, again, a criticism that doesn't apply to...
My critics don't appear on camera. Therefore, the reason why is because they're afraid of being seen. I appear on camera. Therefore, anybody who doesn't appear on camera, your argument is invalid, because what are you hiding? What a nice opinion about PNG tubers and VTubers.
To me, I have videos on people much smaller than me, like Ranting for Vengeance, Jesterbell, Atreus, Smudboy, and Shohei Kondo.
I antagonize smaller channels. That means that I'm better than these people, because I choose to address people who I still am antagonizing and harassing at a distance.
I have videos on people much smaller than me, like Ranting for Vengeance, Jesterbell, Atreus...
You just showed the same video, didn't you?
Anyway, this is, again, a criticism that doesn't apply to me. I have videos on people much smaller than me, like Ranting for Vengeance. Jesterbell.
Yes, you had the exact same thing.
Atreus, Smudboy, and Shohei Kondo, the person we're going to get to in just a bit. You can combine all those people I just named, and I'd still have nearly 100,000 more subscribers than them.
Therefore, you're completely immune from being called a size queen fucktard? No, you're not. You're 100% capable of being called a size queen fucktard, too. Look, I'll do it again. You're a size queen fucktard. Just because you attack big accounts and small accounts does not mean that you're not a fucking size queen. You are, in fact, a size queen. That's why you keep attacking the bigger target. Oh my god. It's like dealing with the worst kind of Dunning-Kruger syndrome imaginable.
They are objectively less successful than me, and yet I've criticized all of them in this series. So no, Will, grifter does not mean people that are more successful than me. Grifter means grifter.
No, I think it's grifting is anybody who doesn't agree with you. I don't even think it's more successful. I think it's just proof it doesn't have a different stance.
Yeah, every definition you can imagine, it's all there for you.
No, Mahler, this just proves that you all have no concept of what that word means. Usually when people call someone a grifter, they are almost always referring to the same pool of people, like Nerdrotic, Pyro Magnus, Smash JT, Yellow Flash, and the Quartering. All of those people share common characteristics. They're all anti-woke content creators that lie and manipulate to stoke outrage. So even if a person couldn't articulate exactly what grifter is definitionally, they definitely know what they look like and how they behave. Look at a Yellow Flash thumbnail. Compare this to a Ryan thumbnail. Compare that to a Geeks and Gamers thumbnail. Compare that to a Nerdrotic thumbnail. Do you see the pattern? You think people are calling these people grifters because they don't know what grifting means? So that's the end of the clip from the live stream, and the loser that's making this video is going to now inject a clip from me. Let's take a listen.
It means something new to every person.
According to this person and people like him, I am responsible for people labeling content creators grifters because they don't like something we like. I'm really tired of this mischaracterization of my position, as I've literally never criticized anyone for not liking something that I like. This is true. My videos in the Exposing the Grift series are not based on whether I liked the media property we are discussing. I get involved when I can show people are lying or manipulating, like how in the Critical Drinker's Predator review, he said that Yelcha Prime and Genna look exactly alike when they do not.
The movie kicks off on the Predator homeworld, which funnily enough looks almost exactly like the other planet where the bulk of this film takes place. Hats off for the imaginative environmental design, chaps. Anyway, for that reason, I'm going to call it generic alien planet number 1, because that's all it is.
So you see, the criticism is not based on a subjective value judgment, but exposing the grifting being done by those like the Critical Drinker. Now, how does low IQ cinema take this?
Very interesting. Go on, I'm listening.
Black people kinda like hip-hop. Well, real black people, not the trash pandas that you know.
He's so silly. He's so silly.
Do you see what I mean about the dishonest framing of my work by these people? This quote was taken out of its context by this moron and used for various purposes, this time to show me apparently criticizing someone for disliking something I like. Before I show the full context of that clip, even in this out-of-context moment, this is not criticizing someone for disliking something I like. I mean, there is no actual criticism here, just an offhand joke I made about house Negroes and their attempt to distance themselves from black culture to appease white people, which is pretty funny in Atreus' case because he can barely read.
A person's attractiveness, cultural, cognitive, evolutionary, and overgeneralization.
Because he uses sentence breaks and space fillers for words, and because he does not have the ability to speak eloquently on camera, that is proof of him being a social functional retard. Therefore, he deserves to be mocked for using words. Wasn't this what people specifically said was great when Kai Cenat started choosing to read? Isn't this the exact behavior that we said it's great that we're not doing that to these people and that he's learning in the way that he's learning? Apparently that is not shared by people like the Birdman. Lord have mercy. Between coughing fits that I need cough drops for and the monotony of a fucking hater that needs to be told to suck a cock, I do not know which is worse. Because both of them are irritating. You could even say that he's literally just causing me to cough. Just from how fucking wild he's making me have to run my mouth. How quickly I have to talk and speak to address the points that I'm making, which then probably aggravate my throat. Nigga, come on.
Explanations have been offered to explain why we find certain people attractive, whereas evolutionary explanation predicts that the impressions associated with the halo effect will be accurate.
I criticize the way that this person chooses to present themselves, and I'm going to relate this to respectability politics the exact same way that Tillboy did. That means this person is not deserving to have a platform upon which to make content. Because he's a digaboo.
But what I'm talking about here is respectability politics, which is something members of marginalized communities engage in to curry favor with the majority community. This is particularly rampant in the black community, of which I happen to be a member, something the loser that created this video seems to not take into account, which is strange because this is the idiot that thinks it's racist for a black man to refer to another black man as a house nigga, which...
Yes, because if the word nigga, even N-I-G-G-A, long A, short G is bad, we all know what you're actually calling him is the hard R. That is bad. That is a bad thing to do. To another black man. No, being black doesn't make it okay. Fucking Christ almighty. What a Ku Klux Klan. Oh, fuck. God damn. You're correct, Jack. But I know exactly what he would say in response to that. Eric July isn't a house slave. He's the house owner on the plantation. Yeah, because he turns all the other people who like his content into the house Negroes that then repeat his talking points. There'd be no winning. There'd be no winning.
Which he tried in this terrible ass video. Yeah, this Fruit Loop has a lot of videos on me, while simultaneously calling me obsessed with the critical drinker. You can't make this stuff up. Mind you, this...
He chooses to make the content on you because the same way that you see a reason to make the point against other people, he makes the point against you. Again, rules for thee, not for me. I can make content criticizing whoever I want, and it's justified and right because nobody else wants to do the hard work. Somebody else does the hard work and they do it to me, they are a hater and a bigot and a loser and don't deserve to have views or content.
This person is not black and has no concept of our culture or why we say certain things, so he's just throwing anything...
This person is not black and they have no, it's on something else now. It's matured past Ironheart, Rift Lazy. You gotta stay to watch the content to realize when we've evolved. You've used him as an example of someone who, quote, doesn't understand. Because he doesn't understand our culture because he's not black, so he can't have an opinion. I don't think a person has to be African American in order to understand the African American struggles. You know why? Because they can use empathy to try to understand it. Or, you know, call in their favorite handy-hardy Negro to help them fill in the blanks. Especially if they have black friends or associates that they could defer to.
The wall to see if it sticks. Anyway, the context for this clip was the trailer for the show Ironheart, and how the actual racist Nerdrotic tried to claim so-called woke white people put hip-hop in the trailer to appease black people.
There is no world of criticism where you can give context to calling somebody a fucking house Negro, and a jigaboo, and a race traitor. Because you called them race traitors. You were in an internship interview. Don't let me stop you on your hustle, homie. But we have since moved on from Ironheart, yes. It happens to be the case that this person has more content where he's trying to defend his justification for why he can be an A-log to people like the Critical Drinker, but nobody can ever be a criticizer or an A-logger about him.
Here's the entire clip. Oh, and just in case you didn't notice, it has hip-hop music in it because this is a show about black people. And you know that decision came from a boardroom full of...
Fast forward.
So, as you can see, not only did the scrub quote mine me while I was explaining what I was talking about, he's cut out the entire context of that clip to make it seem like I'm criticizing people for not liking hip-hop, and am therefore lying when I say I don't criticize people for not liking something that I like.
You were still antagonizing somebody and calling them bad blacks. You can't... You cannot remove that. That's not an argument you can find in the refuge of the audacity of your statements. You inherently called 3 black men jigaboos and coons. You literally called 3 black men jigaboos and coons. And therefore, their opinions don't matter.
These are Birdman haters. They cannot refute my arguments, so they resort to cheap bullshit like this.
They can't refute my arguments. In other words, known as presenting the things that I said. Therefore, they can't actually argue with me. I won't debate them on live. I won't debate them on camera. I won't discuss things with them. But they're so stupid, they're so inept, and my brain is so big, and my cock is so big, I just massively dwarf them. Because whenever anybody has to be exposed to the truth of my argumentation and my behavior, they would only be unwilling to do it because they know that they would be swung over by my huge, massive charisma. As is the case with the people who I'm criticizing. They would never truly engage with my material because I would steal their audience like I'm stealing their bitches. This is indeed the reason why he won't address people like myself or Jay. He can't say that Jay and I don't understand black culture, for one, because niggas. But at the same time, we are willing to go the distance. I say I go further than Jay does. But Jay usually takes the time to take the effort. But that's just my opinion. Because of the way that Jay reads her super chats, the amount of money that she gets when she does a live stream, sometimes a lot of the live stream is held up behind reading super chats and reading donations that came from people talking. I would try to address the super chats to make sure that they aren't ignored, but I ultimately would still have lots of things to say, and the content would continue, regardless of how much money someone's giving me. I don't pull a wick. The money does not come before the content. The content and the point of the matter comes before everything else. He would not respond to that, because yes, he does indeed get the EFAP treatment. But he would then say, well, you're not actually addressing the things that I'm concerned with. In which case, it's literally niggas talking past each other. He would do it in a video, he would do it in a response, he would do it on a live. This is the problem with people like the Birdman.
I even got wind a certain boxer is going to claim I hate trans men too, so that should be entertaining as well. Speaking of entertaining, let's have a look at something from the comment section of this video, shall we? BlackRx Writer says, Birdman said the Japanese embracing hip-hop is cultural appropriation. He also said K-pop is hip-hop and doesn't have a problem with it. This is the chud who says he understands Japanese culture because he visited Japan. So, this comment is based on a misunderstanding and an outright lie, both of which are from my video on Shohei Kondo. First of all, I am not one of those people that thinks cultural appropriation is a bad thing. I'm all for the sharing and appreciation of other cultures, and I have been pretty transparent about that. I know not everyone agrees with me on this take, but that's how I feel about the topic. Yes, there are lines that shouldn't be crossed, like blackface, depending on the context, but in general, I'm all for appreciating other cultures. Again, something I am transparent about. So, the misunderstanding is that I apparently think Japanese people, or any people being into hip-hop, is a problem. And this stems from the fact that the term cultural appropriation has a negative connotation. For context, this was from the part of my video where I showed a conversation I was having with one of my real-life friends on Facebook who was upset at Kim Kardashian for apparently appropriating Japanese culture. As I said in that video, this woman could pass for a light-skinned black woman because she wears an afro, uses makeup to appear more like a black person, wears clothes typically associated with hip-hop culture, and is married to a black man. I was calling out her hypocrisy, not suggesting that her appreciating black culture was a bad thing. The part I took issue with was the blackface and dressing up as Mexican gangsters to represent Mexican people, something Japanese people don't realize is insensitive and racist. So that's the misunderstanding. The lie is that I claim to understand Japanese culture because I visited Japan. First of all, I studied the Japanese language in college. That's literally how I met my best friend. We were both in Japanese 1 and 2 until he decided to join the Navy. In studying for my undergrad, I was required to take Japanese history and art classes, and this is why I am well-versed in the culture. I got a well-rounded education in college, more than a decade before I ever stepped foot in Japan. So you're probably wondering, well, what the hell is BlackRx Writer talking about? Well, he's talking about this clip from that video.
So I want to make it clear statement about the biggest point about this topic. We are protesting marketing DEI's historical distortion stemming from their disregard for Asians and their arrogance and discriminatory responses to protest from Japan. Instead of diversity, equality, what was it? Illusion.
As you can see, this person has been consuming grifter content and has sunken into parrot status. DEI doesn't even make sense in this context, and he's clearly misusing the acronym in the same way the acronym is misused by Trump and his insane supporters. These people have, for the longest time, said that if you want to include black people in stories, make your own movie or game or whatever. Now that these people have done exactly that, you call it DEI? Excuse me, this game isn't Japanese. It's made by a Canadian development team. There is no forced diversity or whatever silly euphemisms you want to use. This is the story they wanted to tell. You are telling people how to make their own art simply because it's set in a place where you're from. Is that really the kind of game you want to play?
The problem with this is that they are, in fact, actually making content that goes with the very narrative of the postmodern existence. They are giving people the exact content that they can then use as a means of being able to get over the foundry of the general problem that comes from those sources and people, which itself becomes an issue of the actual feedback loop. They are creating a problem that they do not take the time to try to solve. And that problem is generated by this need and desire to treat it like it isn't happening. The industry has used DEI, bridge, and social impact movements as a means of trying to change what an industry designs and makes. That is a problem for people. That is a problem for many people. There are people who are annoyed by this. They deserve to be. But you are telling me that this is actually completely fine and nobody should ever have an opinion. That's gay and cringe. Very much gay and cringe. Is this a game you want to play? Absolutely yes. Because it's a game you're going to lose. People do not want to be pandered to. They do not want to be capitulated to. Based on content. They want to be challenged. They want to be challenged without you needing to find a way to constantly paint a white man as a bigot and a monster. Because he's not. If you can't find a way to do it without necessarily needing to make these people into a boogeyman to fight, then you probably need to find a new source of work. Or a new line of work in general.
I've been to Japan many, many times. I have real-life friends and family there. Would you call it DEI if a game developer wanted to make a game about me, the Birdman, and tell a story about me in Japan? If not, why are you doing the same to Yasuke, another black person that was definitely in Japan?
He was not a samurai, though. He was effectively a fucking slave that had the purposes of being a gimmick. Changing an entire trajectory of a franchise to effectively try to make a lost leader cash grab by choosing to play with the idea of a black man in Japanese culture. And then inserting hip-hop music in his content. And saying, but he was a historical figure that existed. We're just choosing to take liberties. Is you kicking the can down the road on the social impact statements. And on putting a twist on it when it falls in line with exactly what the industry already wants. The narrative script doctoring. It's not good.
So you see, dear viewer, the Black RX writer and other idiots spreading this lie heard me say that, and somehow flipped that into me saying I know Japanese culture because I visited there. Notice how I never said any of those words, and that what I actually said was that Ubisoft wanted to tell a story about the life of a black man in Japan, and that a similar story could be told about me without it being DEI, which is what Shohei claimed a story about a black man in Japan automatically was. See the disconnect? We were talking about telling the life stories of real black people who existed in Japan at some point, myself and Yasuke, yet they twisted that into me claiming I understood Japanese culture simply because I visited the country. Birdman haters. Anyway, that's going to bring this video to a close. For the record, I don't expect anyone I criticize in this series to respond to me, nor do I need them to, like these morons suggest. I mean, aren't I the guy just making videos for the views? That would mean I'm already getting those views without these people responding to me, you fucking idiots. But alas, these people's IQs are colors, not numbers, so thinking for them is like trying to run Microsoft Excel on a lava lamp.
What a smart person. Anybody who ever hears his argument would definitely be swayed over by such an illustrative and educative and very humble mind, right? Nigga. Exhaustive. And we're not even at the Lupita Nyong'o bit. I might save it for later tonight. Oh my god. How is it already 5 p.m.? It doesn't feel like I've been here for nearly 4 hours. Sigh. This is something I hate about when it comes to the you have to be the right X. If like a white guy doesn't seem like a white guy, he is seen as weird and vice versa to blacks. I hate golf and I don't want to do it as a white guy. I shouldn't have my white guard card revoked because I hate golf, and it should be the same with black guys not liking rap and hip-hop. It reminds me of Overwatch at the moment. Blizzard made a new character that's Japanese and specifically human, but the loudest group wanted him to be a robot. If anything, it sounds like the Yellowface. In the worldview of somebody like the Birdman, Anthony, if that is his correct name. I'm probably wrong, but somebody can fact check it themselves if they really care. I don't care. His name might as well be Jameek for all I give a shit. Or, unironically, Kanan. In the worldview of people like Birdman, he no longer wants to be a guy who makes content about entertaining and informing and educating. His form of education is browbeating. He doesn't seek to spark joy. He seeks to spark a powder keg. He wants to be the influence that gets a person from watching a, quote, media grifter. But what would happen if you were to follow his worldview to its ontological conclusion? You would create a world where people act like him all of the time, if they don't already. And the problem with that is his limited, narrow view of how he wants things to be is the same as every other person with a narrow mindset of how they want things to be. It is a cycle of violence. And that cycle continues in perpetuity. He will never stop hating. Because it makes him money. It gives him clout, it gets him views. It gets him converts that are easily converted over by just browbeating the fuck out of them. He is no different than a usurper. But, you know, again, it is what it is. I believe, for now, chat, this is where I will leave you. Again, I will be back later. But I feel like between the coughing and the annoyance, the energy that I had has been drained from me. Okay. I'm gonna go now. We will do the Between and Nyong'o video either later today or at another time tomorrow. I need to rest my chest so that I can breathe normally. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. And thank you, every person who has supported both off-camera and on-camera to the donation total, including you, Boster. I very much appreciate it. Ouch, my chest. Oh, fuck.